Today, talking about banking in Cyprus, why you need an account, and also why I now avoid them like the plague, and also what I wish somebody had told me before I actually moved from the UK. You're watching Cyprus Unfiltered, where I tell you real stories about real life here in Cyprus. Now, look, first thing, when it comes to banking, there are a lot of questions that I hear about do I need an account, do I not need an account? If you are looking to get residency on the island, you absolutely need to have a Cypriot bank account. Unfortunately, you have to have one because you need to put in a certain amount of money into the account before you arrive, and you have to have essentially a balance, and you have to have a history on the island, and then you can use that for going through with residency and everything else. Now, I didn't really know this up front. I knew that there were some things that we needed to do, but effectively, without this account, you can't go through immigration. Now, this is where it can get a little bit circular because if you want residency, you need this bank account. However, to open a bank account in Cyprus, you need proof of residency. So you get stuck in this circular pattern. And I remember before we were moving out, when we found out we needed to have a bank account, we started reading about, okay, well, which account do we use? Do we go with Bank of Cyprus? Do we go with Hellenic? I was reading stories about customers literally breaking down in tears in the middle of Hellenic Bank because of this exact situation. They were told that in order to get residency, they had to have a bank account. But the Hellenic Bank wouldn't give them a bank account because they didn't have proof of residency. And so they got stuck in this cycle going around trying to prove that, well, trying to prove it to each other, really, trying to prove it to the bank and trying to prove it to the residency, to the immigration people. And so it catches people out. And you end up in this weird situation where basically you end up having to use temporary docs, like temporary documents, so you get things from immigration and those documents you can then use for the bank. And it's kind of a lot of back and forth. And what we ended up doing was I ended up leaning on the guy that was helping with my immigration because this guy seemed to know everybody. He helped me with my business banking. He helped me with my business account set up. He helped me now with my accounts. He also did my immigration. And of course, he knew a guy at the bank. So the horror stories I was reading before we came out, we didn't actually get impacted by because my guy that was helping us with everything else made a phone call to the bank and helped us progress and get the account set up that way. Now, in order to get it set up, so he might have made the phone call, but the first time we had to go to the bank, you have to go into the branch. And we went into the Bank of Cyprus because this is who we've ended up banking with. And unlike British banks, you end up walking in and you have a two-stage door. So you open the first door, and then that one closes behind you, it locks, and then you have to open a second door and you have to wait for the lights to go green and everything else. And every bank I've walked into in Cyprus is exactly like this. I'm not saying all banks are, I'm just saying every bank I've walked into. And so you have this double-stage security door, and it's a bit awkward. If somebody holds the door open for you, you kind of walk in and you're all in this little cubby hole, not a cubby hole, but like you're in like a porch waiting for the other door to open. So anyway, we went through, and me and my wife were there at the time, and we'd gone through, and we got my boy with us as well, because the three of us came to the island, and we didn't have anybody to look after him at the time. So all three of us went to the bank. We got through the security doors, and we walk in, and there was a huge queue of people going to the counter. We didn't know what we needed to do. We knew we had an appointment, thought we were going to be late, and you join the queue. You just join the queue of people, right? We didn't know what to do. So we just joined the queue of people to go to the counter, and then we can tell somebody we've got an appointment, and then we can have our appointment. So anyway, we waited and we waited and we waited, and the queue eventually went down. And we get to the counter, and the guy goes, "Oh, you didn't need to join the queue. This is if you want to take money out, you could just go over there where there was no queue." Oh, bloody hell. All right. So we went over to another set of desks, and then we got pointed to this gentleman in the office who ended up being the guy that ended up helping us out. I think he was a manager there. He was a lovely guy. And he sits us down and starts asking us lots of questions. And because our guy had already given him some information, it was a case of you need to bring some documentation with you. So we start filling out stacks and stacks and stacks of paperwork. And this was across multiple visits at this time. So just to show you some of what you need to present when you are trying to open an account. So I'm going to show you specifically Bank of Cyprus. Now, I'm not going to go through the exact process because the exact process that I went through may have changed. And if you're watching this a year from now, the exact process might be different again. But let's just move over to this. And I pulled up specifically the Bank of Cyprus accounts. Now, it says here you can do it on a mobile app. I'm going to come on to that in a minute. You can't do it on a mobile app, not for what we're doing, but it says you can. You couldn't at the time. You had to go into branch anyway. But when we scroll down here and we come down to go past all of this, required documents. So we're going to click on this. And before you proceed with the completion of application form, make sure you've got the required documents. Cool, shown here. Click on this. So these are all of the documents that you need to provide. And you end up having to show your ID card or your passport. And for us, it was a passport because we were British nationals. And this is the second one. You need your residency permit. And that's the bit that trips people up because you need the residency permit to open the account, but you need the account to get the residency permit. So you get stuck in this cylindrical loop. Then you've got proof of address, and you have to have that. So you've got to have an address in Cyprus because you want to have that, but also utility bills and everything else. So again, if you're going through and you've got a house with solar and the electricity isn't in your name, then you're probably going to need to try and get the water in your name, or maybe you need to try and get a phone bill in your name or the internet in your name. You need something in your name, right? Clear criminal record. So this is a given anyway. If you're coming into Cyprus, you can't have a criminal record coming into the country. If you've got a criminal record, you have your police checks done before leaving the UK. If you've got a criminal record, you can't come in. This is where it got interesting for me. So copy of your employment contract or proof of other employment. So I'm self-employed. I've got a business in the UK. And I've never written myself a contract because it's my business. I own it. But for the benefit of the bank, I had to create a contract. I had to make one up between me and me. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. So I had to give myself an employment contract. And then I had to put a figure in there as to what I earn. Now, for those of you that take, say, minimum wage and you pay the rest in dividends, you have to give a figure. But I do remember this. If that figure was above 75 grand, they ask you a heap loads more questions. They want a load more paperwork because they want to substantiate everything. Every freaking pound they want to know. So for the purposes of opening my account, we didn't. We were less than that threshold because it's just a nightmare otherwise. Anyway, then you've got all of these documents here, right? And it keeps going and it keeps going. Now, it doesn't look like a lot of documents. It's like maybe 10 documents tops. But the amount of things that we needed to fill in, like the bank statements, history from the UK, everything. This was across multiple visits to get all of this stuff done. There is a lot of information that you need to show. And this is what we were doing. And this is why opening a bank account in Cyprus is a nightmare by comparison to what I was used to back in the UK. And the other thing is that in terms of quirks and how the banks work, kind of everything's done in person. So if you want to update your details, you need to go into the branch. If you want to make a payment or fix a payment or you've got an issue, you have to go in. You've got questions, you need to go into the branch. And they've got online banking right now, and you can see that from this, if I go back to here, you've got online banking and you can open an account. Thing is, here, saying open a new account, you can't do this because yes, you could start the process here, or so let's say you're in the UK now, you could start the process while you're in the UK. But you can't do all of what I've just explained. You can't go into the branch. You can't sit down and give them all the paperwork and show them all the paperwork, do everything that you've got to do. So you can't do it online. I could open this now. If I didn't have an account, I could open this now online because I've got everything I need here. But in order to get here, you have to have this bank account, and therefore you end up going into the branch. So everything's done in branch, and it's really frustrating. And I'll tell you why in a bit. But because everything's done in person, what it means is that when you go to the bank, and it now explains what I experienced the first time round, the queues are massive because so much of it's done in person. So if you go to the bank in the morning, so for instance, I used to pay my first landlord rent. For those of you, sorry, of course, paid all my landlord's rent, that's stupid. I used to pay my first landlord cash because that's what he wanted. And for those of you that watched my video on housing, I explained what happened with rent and everything else. Now, I used to go down to my local branch to take out cash to then pay my landlord in cash. And every morning you'd go down to the bank, whenever it was, there was a massive queue outside the front because people are waiting for the bank to open. And then the bank opens and everybody rushes in the bank and they're all waiting. They're just queuing. And honestly, it's like something from probably like the 90s back in the UK where people are queuing up for the bank, for the desks, and everything else. And everything's done in person. So it's slow. And the other thing I learned is not only is it done in person, not only do you have to queue to the bank, but your account is branch specific. So yes, you can go to any bank, but my registered branch was the one in Paphos. And that was the one in the center of Paphos, because that's where I knew the guy that's where my guy knew the guy to put me in touch to then open the account. So we were registered over there. So every time I tried to take money out in the Coral Bay Bank, which was, the Bank of Cyprus in Coral Bay, for those of you who know it, and near the roundabout, whenever I tried to take money out there, it was, we were getting challenged. It was like, well, this isn't your local branch. I know it's not. Well, you need to go to your local branch. I don't want to go to my local branch. This is local to me in terms of proximity. Oh, okay, well, you can take it out here then. And there was always just this little bit of back and forth. There was a little bit of friction. And we just lived near that one. So that's the one we used to go to, because why would I drive into Paphos when I've got one, almost on my doorstep? So what are the other quirks? You have to do everything in person. Well, you've got banking fees. And the thing is, unlike the UK, where I was used to having, say, like First Direct or Santander or Barclays, whoever you bank with, I was used to having a free account. Now, in Cyprus, that isn't necessarily the case. You can have monthly account fees. Now, I'm going to come on to Revolut in a bit, and I pay a monthly account for that, and that's kind of, it gives you the benefits. But essentially, with the Bank of Cyprus, there are other fees. You've got monthly account fees, you've got different transfer fees, you've got the SEPA fees, depending on what it is that you're doing and depending on where you're trying to send money. Then you've got card fees. You have to pay for a card each year. And then if you are drawing money out of an ATM, like proper old school, this is now like in the UK, if you're taking money out of the bank, out the cash point of the ATM, and it's not a Bank of Cyprus one, then there's more fees. And if you want to do online banking, you think, oh, I'll just do online banking. It's fine. I can just get the mobile app on my phone. That's cool. Yeah, you have to pay a fee for that. You have to pay a fee, like a DigiPass, for the bank, for the app, right? And so the surprise isn't that there are fees. It's just that how many of them there are. Okay. And I'm going to come on to this because I just thought it'd be worth showing. I'd literally just pulled this up earlier on and did a Google search. Cyprus card fees with other banks. Yep. Just to give you an example. So I appreciate this is an AI overview, might not be 100% accurate, but you'll get a feel for the type of fees involved. So Bank of Cyprus, you're paying for the cards. ATM withdrawal limit, you've got a percentage of what you can take out. But if you're doing it with another bank, it's going to cost you €5. So then you find yourself walking down the high street and going, oh, is that a Bank of Cyprus one? Is it going to cost me money to take my own money out? Oh, come on, really? Same with Alpha Bank, same with Eurobank. So Eurobank used to be Hellenic Bank, they merged. But you see, there's just lots of different fees that I wasn't expecting. And certainly when I'm used to the UK banking, maybe this is normal for other parts of the world. Maybe it's normal for other countries. It wasn't normal for me in the UK. So just calling it out. So then the next thing was the business banking. Now you think opening up a personal account was a faff. Business banking for me has been the biggest thorn in my side. There was even more paperwork than there was when I was trying to open up a personal account. And what you have to do, you make an appointment. So again, you don't join the queue of people trying to take money out. You join the queue of people that are doing the business banking, if you like, or where you need to speak to the bank managers and people like that. So you make your appointment, you go down, you collect some forms, you fill in some forms, then you take the forms back, fill them out, and then you end up going back to the bank, and then you get there, and they go, you need a corporate stamp. Where's your stamp? Did you bring your stamp with you? Now, didn't know what a stamp was. Why would I have a stamp? Well, a stamp, actually, I wasn't planning on showing this now, but I will. Okay, look. Got a couple of them here for various businesses. So I've got one stamp. I have my second stamp. When I say a stamp, it is literally a stamp, an ink stamp, yeah? I didn't know we needed one of these, but when you incorporate a business out here, you have to get one of these stamps because everything you ever sign with a business, you have to stamp it literally with this freaking ink pad, right? Never mind digital signatures, forget about that. You're going into the branch and you are going to stamp every page of every document with this freaking stamp. Now, they don't tell you this. So they tell you this when you've been in several times and they go, right, now you're signing it all. Where's your company stamp? Like, I don't know what you mean. I haven't got a company stamp. Oh, you need to go buy a stamp then. So then it's another visit. You go back, you go buy a stamp, you come back and you stamp something else. And then you start stamping things. And there was something else missing. And honestly, at this point, like every time I've gone in, there was always something else. There was always something else I needed, always something I'd missed. And they don't tell you any of this up front. You ask them for the process and they can't tell you. You ask them for everything you need up front, they can't tell you. They can just tell you what you've got wrong, but they can't tell you how to get it right. So at this point, I'm losing my, for want of a better word, I'm losing my shit at this point. My wife's calming me down, going, this is ridiculous. Like, they do not care about your time. There was no apology. There was nothing. And the expectation is that you know their process. So at this point, you kind of, the amount of time you're wasting, like literally, you've got your travel time to the bank, then you're waiting in the bank, right? Then you've got the time doing the thing in the bank, and then you've got your travel time home. And typically, every time you go to the bank, it was like 90 minutes out of my day to go to the bank, to do the thing, to come back, only for them to tell me I've got it all wrong anyway. And I value my time more than anything else, right? So I choose to give it to you guys to, like on a Sunday night. I choose to be here, right? Because I want to. It's my choice. But with the Cypriot banks, with the Cypriot bureaucracy, right? It's the absolute worst with the banks. They waste your time. Nobody gets anything of value, and they don't even care. They just don't even care. So anyway, they've sent me away at this point for more things I have to do. And then you're waiting. And there's all of this stuff in the name of security, in the name of, what do they call it, like fraud and everything else. Yeah, they're checking. And while we're waiting, what do? They send to my email account details, like full account details of another customer. I'm looking at it and going, don't think you should have sent me this. Reported it to the bank. And they thanked us profusely. And we're like, oh, really sorry. Yeah, we definitely shouldn't have sent that. I was like, so hang on a minute. You want to check everything about me, but GDPR for the Bank of Cyprus, out the window. Not a thing. Doesn't matter, right? So anyway, I'm getting sent customer details, full account numbers, everything. That's not a problem. But they want to check every freaking ounce and every little thing of my history. Right, cool. Anyway, so go back to the bank. And then there's another visit. And while I'm there, I'm trying to set up my online banking. Now, online banking, you would think, is a really easy thing. Surely they're going to want you to have online banking so you don't have to keep going into the branch and wasting their time, right? Now, I fill in all the forms. And this is probably now it's about the 9th visit, something like that. I'm filling in the forms for the online banking. Now, you've got to remember, at this point, I am the sole director of a company. Right? I own 100% of the company. It just so happens that my wife was a secretary, because when we set the company up, we couldn't do like you could in the UK, where the director can be both the director and the secretary. You had to have a separate secretary. Now you don't. In one director can do both. But at the time, my wife had to be the secretary. So I'm sitting there doing my online banking, trying to fill it all out. And the account is now sort of open. I've had to pay money into the account to open the account at this point. I'm trying to get onto the online banking, because otherwise I have to go to the machines to check it all out, or I have to queue up in the queue to find out anything about my bank, my account. And then I have to pay the DigiPass. So I have to pay another 10 euros for the DigiPass. Cool. I will pay all of that. I paid it all. I've got it all. However, because my wife was the secretary, she needed to sign a bit of paper. And they wouldn't allow the online banking piece to go through unless she was there to sign a bit of paper. Now, she wasn't with me. I was there on my own this time, because I thought that was the last piece of the puzzle. All done. Go in, and that was going to be it. But no, it wasn't it. So where am I today? Well, 9 visits later, I didn't go back a 10th time. I seriously couldn't be asked. In the time that I was doing all of that, I set up another account, which I'm going to come on to in a minute. I didn't want to go back a 10th time. I just lost the will to live. So I've got an account with the Bank of Cyprus. It's not really usable, because I'm not going to use an account that I can't see the details of. I have no idea how much money's in there. It'll be like 100 euros minus whatever fees they charge me. I don't know what they're charging me, but I've got a business account. Never been able to use the online piece. I've paid for this DigiPass. I'm probably racking up fees that I need to cancel. But the thing is, I'm not going to put any more money into an account that I can't access. And I can't be asked to go back into the bank again to do something else when there'll be something else that is missing. There'll be something else that's wrong. Okay. And just to kind of put it in perspective, so I've got an old wallet here, and I've not brought myself to throw them away yet, along with my Monzo card that I can't use from the UK anymore, my Starling bank cards can't use from the UK anymore. I've got 3 Bank of Cyprus cards. I've got, there you go, just so make sure there's no account numbers on there, although there's nothing in it anyway. But anyway, look, there you go. You got your debit, and I've got two business cards. But basically, you see that on the camera? Debit and business cards. Okay. They're in my wallet. I don't use them. Probably should just shred them. A waste of time. The only thing it's done for me is get me through immigration. That's it. I don't use it anymore. Honestly, waste of my time. When you add into the mix, so you take all of that into account. In 2013, and this is a big one, in 2013, for those of you who don't know, there was a banking crisis here on the island, and the bank shut down. Bank shut down only for a couple of days, but they stopped you taking money out of your account. And essentially, it stopped people doing like a money run, like a bank run. So it stopped you going into the accounts and taking your own cash out, because what they were doing is anybody with a balance over about 100,000 euros, they literally had it skimmed off the top. So if you had €1,000,000 in your account in cash, they took 900,000 of it, because basically it was like a bailout type thing. There was some, I don't understand all of it. All I know is there was some kind of bailout with Europe, and the Cypriot government had to take money from bank accounts, and they call in this thing. You've got this insurance in the UK where it's like anything over above 85 grand or something like that is not insured. Well, in Cyprus, it happened. And I know some of my Greek neighbors that had got a lot of money in the banks at the time. They'd lost hundreds of thousands of euros by leaving the money in a Greek account, in the Cypriot account, right? Now, for me, that's just staggering. And the thing is, since then, yes, the compliance has got stricter because the risk tolerance is lower. I get that, right? Everything's slower and more controlled. And I understand that because people actually lost money from their banks, all of a sudden, the friction starts to make sense. But the problem is, I don't trust them anymore. I wasn't affected by this. I just read about it in the news, like the same media that people read in the UK. Now, granted, it was probably blown out of proportion, but having spoken to some of the locals here, yeah, it wasn't as bad as what the UK media made at the time, right? And theoretically, this could happen in the UK. But in Cyprus, it's not theory. It actually happened. So then why would I want to leave money in one of my Cypriot accounts? I can't even get to the bloody thing anyway, right? But why would I want to leave money in there? It's kind of like that whole fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And so I don't use my Cypriot accounts. There are times when you need to use them. Immigration, some property purchases, if you are dealing with mortgages and things like that, they want you to have a Cypriot account. But for us, we bought land here, and because we were buying in cash, we didn't need to use the Cypriot account. So all of a sudden, we could just use a challenger bank. We didn't need to use the Cypriot banks. So there are times when you need to use them, but for the most part, we don't, right? And I honestly, like I say, oh, they're in here. I don't use them. I can't get to it on my phone. I can't get to the apps on my phone. Don't use them. A waste of time for me. So what are the alternatives? If you're watching this right now, you're coming from the UK, what are the alternatives? Well, as I've just said, and I'm going to take the cards out again, I don't know why. Feels like it's more interactive if I'll show you the cards. Oh, no, that one's got my numbers on there. Well, it's probably expired. Oh, no, it's not expired. Anyway, I'll do it like this. Monzo and Starling. They're the ones I used to use in the UK quite a lot. And unfortunately, both Monzo and Starling are UK banks, and they don't have a European license. And therefore, when you leave the UK, if you are no longer a UK resident, you have to close your accounts down. So I no longer actually have a Monzo account. I no longer actually have a Starling account because you have to close them down. So what accounts do I use? Well, my main ones, when I first moved out here, I used Wise. Wise was great for me because what I could do is I could set up local accounts. And when I say a local account, I mean, you have an account with Wise and it's in your name, but I can set up a UK account with a sort code and account number. I can set up a European account with an IBAN number, and I can pay, or if my landlord let me pay cash, let me pay with a bank transfer or whatever. You can do payments electronically. You can take payments into the bank using IBAN, and you can set it up in seconds. There's no reason for me to go and visit a branch. No reason for me to stand in one of these queues. So Wise was great for us for about the first probably 18 months or so until we wanted to buy this land out here down in the Sea Caves. And then we started using Revolut. And the reason why I use Revolut is because I started and I moved on to their metal plan because they have better fees, and essentially the annual cost of the card for me, which works out about 160 euros or something like that, saved me in excess of €1,000 in fees initially. And it continues to save me money transferring money from the UK to Cyprus. Okay. So the banks I use on the island is Wise and Revolut. Now, there are horror stories that I've heard with Revolut. I know they weren't a proper bank for a long time in the UK. They didn't have a proper banking license. And so there's no credit facilities with them. There's no credit facilities with Wise. But fundamentally, now they've got the same protections as a normal bank. But in terms of ease of use, for me, it's much better fees, faster transfer, way less friction, and the exchange rates are better. So if you're earning in pounds, but you're living in euros, which will be the case if you're moving out here, then basically you're going to get a much better rate closer to the Google transfer rates than you will if you're using something like Bank of Cyprus. Or let's say you've got a HSBC account or something in the UK, you come over here and you try and transfer money across, they're going to give you a shocking rate compared to the likes of Revolut, compared to the likes of Wise. And with these banks, you can always see what you're going to get straight away. You can see it in real time, what you're going to get. You can set up rates. If you want to exchange a whole bunch of money, you can set up a target rate so that if you want to wait for it to go above or below a certain rate, you can then exchange it once it hits that rate. So for me, it's just a far better solution. Now, I want to give you a top tip when it comes to banking, because when you come to Cyprus, assuming you come from the UK at this point, you might not be coming from Europe, you might be coming from the UK, and therefore you're a third country national. Unless you've got an EU passport, you're a third country national. Now, what that means is you're going to come here and you're going to find it very difficult to get credit on the island. You're not going to be able to get loans, or it's going to be much harder to get loans. It's going to be much harder to get mortgages. You can still get them, but it's harder. And banks don't want to give you credit cards. Now, you might go, oh, well, that's fine, Mark, because I don't use credit cards anyway. Well, I don't use credit cards because I don't have the money, but I always use credit cards if I'm buying stuff online. I always use credit cards for that security. Now, because you can't get them in Cyprus, luckily, my UK banks, so I bank with First Direct in the UK, they're happy to accept my Cypriot address. They allow me to keep my credit card in place. So all of the credit facility that I had back in the UK, I have here on the island. And I can't get that with a Cypriot bank, but I can get it with my UK bank. However, when you're doing this, and this is why I say it's a top tip here, they typically won't change your credit limit when you're out here. And what I mean by that is let's say, and I've done this with business banking and everything else, but basically they will keep what you've got in place. But in my experience, and some of you may have experienced this differently, but in my experience, once you're here and you're living in Cyprus, they're happy for you to maintain the facility that you have, but they will not change or increase the amount. So if I was doing this again, not that I need the credit, but it's that peace of mind. It's that if you ever needed it and I can't get a credit card in Cyprus, what I would probably have done, or not probably, what I would definitely have done is 6 months before I've moved, I would go to all of my UK banks and I would increase the limit for as much as they would let me, just so that I've got that facility on my UK cards before I moved. Because it's a lot harder, and in instances that I found, impossible for me to increase the limit while I'm now living here. They won't do it. They'll just let you keep what you've got. So if I was doing it again before I moved, I would absolutely look to increase the limits. And my business banking, on my, this is my UK business banking at this point. Santander were terrible, but they wouldn't let me change any limits. Now, because I'm flying back and forth between countries, I do all of that on credit card. All of my air travel goes on credit card because it's safer. All of the hotels go on credit card. And they wouldn't increase it now that I'm here. I was like, well, great, thanks. But if I'd have been in the UK doing it, they'd have been fine. Yeah, they'd just increase it. So anyway, that's that. So look, that is banking in the UK. It's not, it's banking in Cyprus. Hopefully that's been helpful. If you've got any questions, we're going to go on to the live Q&A in a moment. But just before I do, I'm going to just take a little breather and go, if you're finding it useful, please give it a like and share. Anybody else that might find this information useful, please share it with them. I'm trying to help as many people as I can, because when I first moved to Cyprus, There's nobody showing what life was really like, and nobody was showing this sort of content. So I am desperately trying to document it now for the rest of us. Like I say, my only ask is that if you are finding it useful, just give it a share to people, and hopefully you can help them out too. So with all of that said, we are going to go on to a live Q&A. So let's see who we've got in the chat. There's a lot of activity tonight. Fantastic. Right, who have we got? We've got Stephen Sakoba. Hi, Mark. Good evening. Hope you're good and well. Thanks, Stephen. I'm very good. Thank you. Hope you are well too. Got Ferry and Monica. Good evening, Mark. Evening, both. Hope you're well. Alex Glass. Howdy, Mark. Howdy, Alex. Howdy, Emma as well, if you're watching. Mike. Good evening. Good evening, Mike. And Joanne as well, if you're watching. Got Jade Todd. Hi, catching live. Good stuff. Glad to hear it. Got Lee. Evening, Mark. Evening, Kelly as well, if you're watching in the background. UK Landlord Network. Okay, can you open the account before we relocate? There with our UK proof of address, or does it need to be when we actually move? Thanks, Johnny. Okay, so that's a good question. Can you open the account before you move? I was struggling with this because, as I've shown you tonight, it's really difficult to be in the bank signing all the paperwork because they want ink on paper, typically, in my experience. Like everything formal in Cyprus, they want ink on paper. And so digital signatures just doesn't seem to be a thing for people out here. They want to see ink on paper. So I think you will struggle with that, if I'm honest, Johnny. What I would suggest is when you come out here, there's no rush. Like when you come out here, you've got 90 days to apply for immigration. Once you've applied, you don't then get kicked out after 90 days. As long as you've got the receipt to say you've got the appointment in the diary, then you're good. So even if it takes longer than the 90 days, you're good. So don't worry too much about doing it before you get here. If you know you're coming, you've got a date, come and just do it in person, because you'll probably find you end up having to make multiple visits anyway, would be my advice. Hopefully that's helpful. Jade Todd, definitely a love-hate relationship with the banks. Love the in-person option, not so much like the difficulty trying to do anything online with it. I know, yeah, I mean, it's a nightmare. The in-person thing is interesting though, because one thing I have learned out here, and this is what I've been told by the locals, is banking in Cyprus, I probably should have said this in the content, but banking in Cyprus is like it used to be in the UK many years ago, in that if you know the bank manager, a lot of it's down to their discretion. So if you've got a good banking relationship with that particular bank, with that branch, it's going to be down to their discretion as to whether or not you get a mortgage, whether you get a loan and things like that, which is why the service that people get will differ from branch to branch. There will be an army of people like myself, that go, I don't really like Bank of Cyprus. And there will be an army of people that love Bank of Cyprus because maybe they went to a branch in Nicosia, maybe they went in Larnaca or Limassol, maybe their branch is better than my branch. Same goes for Hellenic or Eurobank. There are people that have good experiences with it, there are people that have bad experiences with it. So for immigration, try your local one. You know, if you don't have any contacts in the banks, try your local one. See how you get on. If you don't get on very well, and you, let's say you're pulled towards the Bank of Cyprus for some reason, you're compelled, you want that the fancy blue card to sit in your wallet. Well, then if you don't get any luck with one branch, go to another branch and try that. Maybe you get better luck because the service is different, because things seem to be at people's discretion. The Hellenic stories that I was reading, you'd got people in tears in the bank because they couldn't get residency and they couldn't get an account, and they were stuck in this cycle and they were in tears because they couldn't then move forward. Some people have had that, some people haven't. And again, it seems to be branch specific. So yeah, it is painful, but you know, it's just the way it is out here, unfortunately. Lion's Mane Beats. Interesting. Yeah, I hate having to pay something to take cash out from other banks. I agree. It annoys me when I have to pay to take my own money out of my own accounts. That just drives me insane. And the problem is with Bank of Cyprus as well, there's so many other fees. Like even with the business banking, it's like if you, and I won't go into all the fees and they're all going to change, but there seems to be fees when you spend money, when you save money, when you take money out, when you put money in. There seems to be fees every step of the way. Now, with Revolut, in fact, actually, I didn't mention this, with Revolut, so talk about business banking, I actually now bank with Revolut for my business. And in the 9 visits that I had going in and out of the Bank of Cyprus, in that time, when I just got so exasperated, I came back. I had already got a Revolut account in the UK for a UK business. I was like, I'm just going to do the same here. So I had my business account manager and I made an appointment. I think it was like a day later. And we jumped on a call, 20 minutes. My account was set up. I had account numbers, I had everything good to go. My online banking, I could access everything. Phenomenal. And so again, there are people that don't like Revolut. There are people that have had horror stories with Revolut. I've never had a bad experience with Revolut. There are people out there that have. But for me, trying to get a business account that I can use for my business here in Cyprus with the Bank of Cyprus was just a nightmare. Whereas now we've got multiple accounts for Revolut and we have no problem at all. So I'm going off on a tangent there. But anyway, I just thought I'd call that out and say it's a lot faster. J Todd, but we now have an ATM on Masoy. Where's Masoy? Am I reading that right? Masoy. What or where is Masoy? We got Phil Shaw. Hi. Hi, Phil Shaw. How you doing? UK Landlord Network. What information is printed on the stamp? Oh, you'll love this. So, Johnny, this is the most ridiculous thing. I have two stamps. Oh, I've now dropped a piece of it. Hang on. So on this one, well, on both of them, let me just, I'm going to read them both out. This is how inconsistent it is. These are the legal stamps that you could get from bloody Jumbo and make your own. You could order it off Amazon. You can make your own stamp. Both of them have, I won't show you the company names, but both of them have my company names on. One of them has the HE number. That's the registration number. The other one doesn't. The other one is just the name of the company. You could literally make it with a kid's stamp set. And that's your legal stamp. And what they do is they make you stamp every document and then you're signing over the stamp. And it is it just annoys me. Look, yeah, it's one of these poppy things. Like you go, does that? Like the most random thing. Anyway, they're the stamps. And I was staggered when they said you need a company stamp. I'm like, what's a company stamp? Oh, well, you need to something with your company name on it. I'm like, can I not just write it on? Oh, yeah, but you need to do it on every page. And it was about 100 pages. I was like, oh, what? So they said you can write it on, but it's better to get a stamp. I was like, oh, come on, really? Well, then when you tell me I need a stamp, again, they expect you to know their processes, unfortunately. But yeah, that's it. Literally, if you know your company name, Johnny, before you're coming out, you can just get one off Amazon. You can make your own. There's nothing, if you get, in fact, this particular one from our solicitor cost me, I think it was like 60 euros because it was all part of the account setup. When you see the itemized bill, like 60 euros, like really could do it for probably a $5 or a $10 off Amazon. Anyway, it is what it is. What do we got? So, it's in. Oh my God, the red tape would drive me bonkers. I want to live in Cyprus to relax, not to be wound up. Exactly. And the thing is, if you've watched any of the videos, certain things on the island are super fast, is that people will just get the job done when it comes to small businesses. But when it comes to big institutions, when it comes to government agencies, when it comes to things like the banks, the electric companies, everything seems to be slow. Everything seems to be red tape. And it's where the Siga comes from. Everybody goes slowly. And the thing is, if you're coming to Cyprus, just expect the fact that it's going to be slower than the UK. It's not going to be as efficient. And I try not to get wound up by this, right? And you can probably hear it in my voice tonight, just reliving the memories, like traumatized. I'm traumatized. I speak to a therapist about the freaking bank. But when it comes to wasting my time, like 9 visits or whatever it was, 9 visits, and I still do not have a working account, that infuriates me, like absolutely infuriates me. So yeah, I get it. It's supposed to be stress-free. It's not stress-free. But when you move away from that, in fact, I was having a conversation with somebody today, when you move away from that, Cyprus is an amazing place where you can choose to go as fast or as slow as you want, especially if you're working remotely. If you're working remotely, you've got business going on in the UK, you can be on a Zoom call, you can be on a Teams call, whatever. It can be super fast paced. You can be as fast and as intense as you like. And then you can turn that off. You can go make a coffee. You can see the sea. You can slow right down. And it's amazing. And I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Ignore the banks. At the moment, the banks is just a thing. For me now, that was a thing I did 12 months ago. I'm just bringing it back to the table for you guys tonight for the purpose of this. But like I say, the cards sit in my wallet. I don't use it. Up until this recording, I stopped even thinking about it. So don't let it put you off. It is what it is. Adrian Lee, hi Mark, very informative as always. Looks like Cyprus banking about 30 years ago in the UK. Exactly, exactly. And like I was saying earlier, it kind of is like that. And if you know the bank, if you know the people, again, it comes back to being not what you know, it's who you know. You know, if you know the bank managers and everything else, I dare say you'll get, I don't know if you get preferential rates, but you'll definitely get more favorable terms or leniency, I guess, when it comes to, you know, finance, business loans, anything like that. If you're looking to grow, it definitely comes down to their discretion. And yeah, I think that's how it used to be. Like if you knew the bank manager 30 years ago in the UK, then you would be able to pull more strings. But now it's all online and everybody's, it's like, you know, banks are kind of faceless in the UK, which, let's be honest, for day-to-day banking isn't the worst thing in the world because I can just log on to my bank. It's quick. I haven't got to waste my time. I don't need to talk to anybody. You know, I love people and I hate people all at the same time. Sometimes you just want to do something and I just want to go on my phone, do it and be done and I'm gone. You can't do that here. You can't do that. So, well, you can if you use Revolut or Wise. Nuts in May, 120K bank guarantee now up from 85. Cool. Well, I mean, that's good to know. So in fact, somebody told me that, or somebody said that in the last week or so. And yeah, I mean, 99% of people probably won't ever be affected by the whole, if it's 120K, right? Most people don't have 120K sat in the bank. For those of you that do, like I say, and I know people out here on the island and over the locals that literally lost hundreds of thousands of euros because of what happened. And now I've never seen, and I'm sure it is, maybe I'm just not well versed or not well educated in this. I've lived in the UK, my wife's from Poland, and now we live in Cyprus. And from those three countries, Cyprus is the only one that I've seen ever take money out of people's accounts and basically steal from the population as part of the payout. I've never seen any other country do it. So that makes me nervous. Now, that was 13 years ago, whatever it was, 14 years ago. I do the maths, 13 years ago, yeah. Maybe it never happened again, don't know. But, you know, happened once, so that's enough. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm too cynical. Path to Paphos, good to have you on, Brian. Message retracted, though. That's a shame. Oh. J. Todd, your experience has certainly been more painful than ours, but I happen to, oh, hang on a minute. Can't read. Let me zoom in. The experience has certainly been more painful than ours, but I happen to have the same birthday of the lady on the counter. So based on that, she didn't change me. She didn't charge me for anything. Okay. Well, there you go. Top tip. If you want good service from a Cypriot bank, make sure you're born on the same day as the bank people. Interestingly, here's a question for you, Jade. Who do you bank with, or who did you bank with? Who gave you the good experience? Because, like I say, I find people have good experiences with Bank of Cyprus and people have bad experiences with them. Same with Eurobank. You know, everybody has good and bad stories to tell. I'm just telling you my story. You know, there'll be somebody else on YouTube that's probably singing their praises and absolutely love them. I'm just, you know, telling you my story of events. Where we got now? Oh, it's jumped. There's lots of messages coming through in the chat. It's moved my chat and now can't see where I got to. All right, we go. Premium 24/7. I wouldn't have too much money in a Revolut account either. I know people who have had their Revolut account frozen, closed for no good reason. A lot of people online with the same experience. Yeah, so I've heard this as well. If I'm honest, I've heard it, but I've never experienced it. And I think depending on what you're doing in business, depending on how much money you got flowing through an account, yeah, I've heard that they can freeze your account as well. And the problem is, and this is something to be aware of. Actually, it's a good shout. You know, I'm not putting you my Revolut affiliate code in here. Like none of this is sponsored in any way. I have a Revolut affiliate code. I'm not going to put it in because I'm not here to sell Revolut. I'm just here giving you my experiences with Revolut. There are absolutely people that have had issues with them for sure. And not only that, but because they are faceless, who do you speak to? If you have a problem, you're sending support messages. There's no branch you can go into. At least here, if you had an issue with Bank of Cyprus, you could go into the branch and you could get through the double security doors and then you could queue up and then you could shout at somebody if you needed to. You can't do that with Revolut. So I totally get that. You know, same with Wise. You know, a lot of these challenger banks, it's the same thing. You know, realistically, what you should probably do, and which is why we have two challenger bank accounts, we've got the UK accounts as well, just spread things around. Spread things around a little bit, just don't leave it all in one account. Because if you do get frozen, certainly in the business world, HSBC did this to me years ago, froze my account in the UK because I hadn't filled in some stupid form. They did this thing. I can't, you probably remember it actually. There was something happened, and something happened. I think it was in the US, and then the bank got slapped with some huge fine, and then everybody had to fill in this form, and I didn't. And then they froze my funds for about 6 or 8 weeks, and they froze everything, and the payments going in and out, and I couldn't do anything. And so I just abandoned HSBC at that point because they would not unfreeze it. They would not let me take cash out, and it wouldn't let me pay bills, nothing. And so everybody's got a story with the bank. Just spread the risk. I think is all you can do. Is all you can do. Spread the risk and work out what's convenient for you and what isn't. For me, Revolut works great. Wise works great. Why? Because I'm transferring a lot of money from the UK. Well, not a lot of money, but I'm transferring money regularly from the UK to Cyprus, and as a result, I get much better fees and transfer rates with them, more than I ever would with a mainstreamer bank. So for me, the fees that I'm saving, I've not had the issue that some people get, but some people do get it. You're absolutely right. Simon, just Google banks in Paphos and they all have terrible ratings. Are there any good banks to open an account? I mean, I would love to say yes, but this is Cyprus Unfiltered, and in my experience, from what I've seen, like you said, they all have bad ratings. It's a bit like the schools to an extent. If you look at all the private schools seem to have bad ratings as well, including my own sons. My son goes to school, and that seems to have bad ratings. I think the problem is a lot of people, and this is why you have to take all ratings with a bit of a pinch of salt. A lot of people will just shout. So like me, I don't want to waste any more time on the Bank of Cyprus. I can't even be asked to write them a bad review. That's how much I don't like them. I can't even be asked to write them a bad review, right? So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to write them a bad review. But there'll be people on there that clearly have, because they get fed up. Will people write good reviews? People do write good reviews, but generally from what I've seen, like I say, there's good and bad. It's almost like not yin yang. What I mean is there's good reviews and there's bad reviews. I don't like Bank of Cyprus. Some people do. I've never tried Hellenic Bank, but some people love them, some people hate them. And typically what you'll find is that the people that have a negative experience quite often shout louder. Certainly seems to be the case out here. So yeah, I don't know of any banks out here that are good. What I would say is, because it's going to be branch specific, just try them. You're going to need it for immigration anyway. So come out here, try the bank. And if you get an account set up at Bank of Cyprus and it gets you through immigration, great, then they're probably a good bank for you. If you're doing the same thing with Hellenic Bank or Eurobank and they get you through immigration, great, then they're probably a good bank for you as well. But there's going to be people with good and bad experiences. And if you're just finding that you're all, if you've got a branch that works for you, great. And if you haven't, try a different branch. Unfortunately, it's no more scientific than that, and the reviews can help. Certainly the reviews they'll be different. And this is why you'll see like a review in, say, Nicosia will be different to a review in Paphos for the same company. You see it with CETA as well, and a lot of the online shops and things like that. You've got different reviews for the different locations, and unfortunately, it's just location specific. Premium 24/7. My good friend had over 10K in Revolut, all returned to sender. He had to get a financial ombudsman to help him recover the funds. Took over a year. Oh, wow. That's not cool. And I've never had that happen, but yeah, I'd be pretty miffed if that happened. So I can see why you'd be nervous. And I can see why your friend's nervous as well. Out of interest, I'm assuming that was a business account as opposed to a personal account. Don't know. Maybe not. Maybe they were just buying a car or something. I don't know. But yeah, I can see why you'd be put off by that for sure. Jade, super knowledgeable, and I'm sure many will benefit, particularly if you're working for yourself. Fabulous. Thank you very much. Appreciate the feedback. I'm glad it is useful for somebody. Like I say, I wish somebody was telling me this before we moved out. Path to Paphos, as an EU citizen, you do not need to open a Cyprus bank account. I'm Irish on a MEU1 and I still don't have an account over here, and it's not required to have one. Yeah, that's right. So it's for third country nationals typically. And so people coming from the UK, if you don't have an EU passport, then yeah, you're right, Brian. They'll be the people that are affected. Like I say, I was affected, although incidentally, So I came through. I thought it was coming through on a pink slip. I thought I needed to come through on a pink slip. And for those of you that have seen my story up to this point, you'll know that partway through my immigration, my immigration guy was awesome because he then was like, well, actually, just come through on your wife's yellow slip. She's Polish. Just come through on that, and we can set you up on Gessie and everything. It was like, sweet. And that's what we did. But I still had to do this with the bank and everything else. We still need to get the bank for immigration. And it was just, yeah, we still ended up having to do it. So even though I was coming through on my wife's yellow slip, I still ended up having to do this as a third country national. So, Jade, so true. Oh, I'm really sorry. I don't know what that was in relation to, but I'm glad it was true, whatever it was. So UK Landlord Network, Johnny, thanks. Sorry, I meant the proof of address as we haven't moved there yet. So no contract or bills in our name. Can we come with all of our documents, even though we're only visiting for a few weeks? Oh, right. Let me just read that again. We haven't moved there yet. So we've got no contract, so no rental contract or bills in our name. Can we come with all of the documents, even though we're only visiting for a few weeks? Well, you're going to need a contract. That's the thing. You're going to need proof of address. So I've come back to this for just a second, and we come on to here. And this is Bank of Cyprus, but they're all going to be the same. You do need proof of address and a utility bill in your name for up to 6 months. Now, what that might be is, again, because you won't have been there 6 months at this point in time, and depending on how long it takes, they're going to want to see anything that you've got for the address, and they might even be wanting to see stuff in the UK. It depends. Like, say, it doesn't seem to be they tell you this stuff here, but every time I went in, they seemed to want something different, and it was just really frustrating. So this is saying or an official document issued by a competent Cypriot authority. So again, it just comes back to, well, what are they going to want? And I just think you're going to be better off to do that here when you're on the island, because no doubt they're going to want something else that you haven't thought about. So I would just come. If you've got a rental agreement at that point, great. If not, like say you've got 90 days before you even need to apply for so you get your appointment. And in 90 days time, as long as you've applied for the appointment, you've got the appointment within those 90 days, then you're good to stay anyway. And then like for me, we arrived in August of 2023, and I didn't end up getting my residency card until like the December or something like that. And we'd massively outstayed the 90 days, but we'd got the appointment that just kept getting pushed down the road. And it was fine. It was absolutely fine. And just in that time, you're doing everything else. So don't stress too much. If you haven't got the right paperwork right now, by the time you get to that point, by the time you need it, it'll be fine. You'll be able to do it within the time frame when you're here on the island. So I wouldn't stress about it, Johnny, to be honest. Hopefully that helps anyway. Mike, if you have to open an account for immigration purposes, do you need to keep it up after the initial residency is granted? Ooh, that's a good question. That is a good question. Your circumstances are going to be different to mine, Mike, because as I just said, I have ended up coming through on my wife's yellow slip. And as a result, I don't need to reapply for anything now for I've been here, I can be here for 5 years. Whereas if you're on a pink slip, you have to apply every year. So on that basis, you do need to have a certain level of money that is saved in your Cypriot account, and it needs to be there as a balance. So that for me would dictate that you need to have that in your Cypriot account. So to answer the question, it's highly likely that you're going to need to keep your immigration bank account for immigration purposes and for continued renewal of your immigration of your pink slip. So I would work on the basis that you are going to need to keep it. You're going to need to put money in. You're going to need to keep the money in there. That's the whole point of the pink slip process, is you have a certain amount of funds that sits there in your account. So to be fair, I'm bashing them and I'm saying, I've got my cards here and I could just shred them. The reality is I've kept it, right? Even the business one. I mean, the business one, I do need to close that down because they're going to be charging me some silly money, and I just need to close it. I'm not worried about the business one. I don't need the business one for immigration, but my personal one, I've got no intention of closing that down. I've also got no intention of using it, but I've got no intention of closing it down because at the end of the 5 years, I may need to do something again with that. I may need to put some money in. I didn't have to do the whole balance thing in the end, but because it was such a faff to get the account, I've just kept it, and the annual fee for the account it's negligible really versus the hassle I'd have to go through again if I had to reopen it at the end of the 5 years. So just assume you're going to keep it. Do it once, go through the pain once, keep it. Have a balance in there, keep it, but you don't have to use it day to day. If you're moving money from the UK, you don't need to use it day to day. You can just keep it there. Hopefully that's helpful anyway, Mike. Jade, for me, it simply came down to me having the same birthday as particular. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh no. Am I reading the same one? Oh, yeah. For me, it simply came down to having the same birthday as a particular person who literally was satisfied with that. Real beneficial for me. Insane, but ain't complaining. I mean, that's Cyprus. Like, I'm here saying that Cypriot banks are an absolute pain. But when things come down to discretion, so as an example, nothing to do with banks now, right? I was in home market DIY in Paphos. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's like B&Q or it's like Wix back in the UK. And I remember I'd walked in, I was paying for, what was it? It was like a few things I was paying for, like I was like barbecue, something, or I don't know, I was paying for something anyway. And I'm going to make up the money now because I can't remember exactly what it was, but let's just say it was, I don't know, like 15 euros and 50 cents, something like that. Yeah. So I'd got 15 euros in cash, but I didn't have the 50 cents. And I was like, okay, I've got the 15 euros. Okay, I haven't got the 50 cents. Okay, can I just pay on card, please? And he says, well, how much have you got? And I said, I got 15 euros. Like I say, I'm making the numbers up, but the story, the principle of the story is the same, right? So I said, I got 15 euros. And the bill was like 15.50. And he goes, that's fine. We'll just call it 15. What do you mean we'll just call it 15? Like, that never happened in the UK. And I've had that similar situation happen several times on the island where people just go, it's fine. It's fine. Just relax. Siga, all of that good stuff. People are just so much more chilled out. And if you've got somebody in the bank that's chilled out because you've got the same birthday, then all power to you. When are you born? If you're born on my birthday, where do you bank? Jade again. Oh, hang on a minute. It was jumped again. Comments coming through. Jade, I can't spell it. Oh, Masogi. Oh, okay. Masogi Road. Oh, I see. Right, understood. Yeah, Masogi Road. Okay. Okay. UK Landlord Network. Oh, Johnny. Lots of smiley faces. Lee, good evening, Lee. Good evening, Lou. Do any UK banks and credit card companies close your account if you move to Cyprus? Also, do you need your business statements and details, even if you only want a personal account? Okay, so there's two parts of the question here. To answer the first part of the question, Lee, what I would say is the UK banks, they will close your account if they don't operate in Cyprus, if you tell them. I don't condone this because it goes against all the banking rules and regulations. If you have a friend in the UK who has a UK address and they don't mind you using their address, then hypothetically, you could register your UK banks to that address and it would be fine. Just saying you could, not saying you should. That's the first part of the question. And also, actually, so when it comes down to Starling and these guys, so yeah, I just closed them down because there was no benefit. When you've got Revolut and Wise, they do the same thing. So there was no benefit anyway. So I just closed them all down. It was just a faff. But yeah, if you've got credit facilities and things like that, yeah, you could do that. Second part of your question, do you need your business statements and details, even if you're only doing a personal account? Well, that depends. It depends on your circumstances. Now, I know your circumstances because we've met, but let me talk more broadly for people. If you are self-employed in the UK and your income comes from a business, you will need to show business accounts and your income and everything else, because if you own the business and everything else, they just want to see paperwork. If you're making a claim that you are earning X amount of money per year, so as an example, for me, when I've got IT contracts in the UK, they even wanted to see my IT contract, not the thing that I had to make up. I had to make up a contract between me and my UK business. Not that. They wanted to see the contract between my UK business and my UK client. They even wanted to see that because that was my source of funds. That was me earning money from the UK. So if you are a business owner, if you're classed as self-employed, just be prepared that you're going to need to show that level of information. At least that's what they wanted me to show. If you're an employee of a company because you're going to work for, you maybe get sponsored in Cyprus, or maybe you can just work remotely with a UK branch. Maybe you're retired, you've got a pension, then it's going to be personal income, or it's going to be your personal statements. But if you've got a business and you're relying on business income, you've got dividend payments, they're going to want to see everything. So just bear that in mind. Hopefully that's helpful anyway. Pathos, Brian, the thing is the bureaucracy is part of the culture of the island. Don't like it, don't come. It's part of the Cyprus character. Just shrug and say, Cyprus. Exactly right. And it's funny because I want to talk about driving because I like driving. For those of you that know me, I like cars, I like driving. People get really fed up with the way Cypriots are. Like you can go into a car park and like in the UK, you'll get these people and they'll park across two lines and they take two spaces because they've got a moderately nice car and they don't want somebody to scratch it. And so they'll park in the middle and they get loads of jip. In Cyprus, you can go into a shopping center, you can go into a car park, whatever. You can go to Lidl or wherever you're going. And they don't just park on the lines, they'll park diagonally. Sometimes if your cars are all there in a line, sometimes they don't make it all the way into the space and the arse end of the car is hanging out. And it's fine. Like you just said, Brian, like you just shrug and you go, Cyprus. Because if I was getting annoyed by that, then I'd be back in the UK and I'd be governed by all of these freaking stupid rules. I know they're not breaking the law, but it's like a police state in the UK. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody's got an opinion in a negative way about things. And everybody wants you to live within a certain set of parameters and a certain set of rules. If you want to live like that, then stay in England, right? You come to Cyprus because you chilled out, but you can't have your cake and eat it. If you're going to be chilled out and you want to relax and you want people to not get so wound up with you, you want to have that slower pace of life. You want a bit of an easier life, where people just, you go about your day. You take your kids out to a restaurant. The kids are a bit noisy around the table. When I first came here, and my son was out with his friends who were in a restaurant. They were running around playing, coming in and out of the restaurant, going to this like playground opposite. And I was there going, oh my God, and I called him over, Jacob, no, you need to be quiet, mate. We're in a restaurant. You can't do this. Like literally, he was excited because his friends were there. The restaurant owner came over and I was like, oh God, I've been in the country like 3 months and already causing trouble. Restaurant owner came over and I was like, yeah, really sorry, really sorry. And he goes, no, he's a kid, man. Just leave it. Let him play. I was like, there's a restaurant. There's other customers. Like, that's fine. Just he's a kid, let him play. Like, oh, all right. And that's the thing, if you're going to get upset by that sort of thing, then you can't have the benefit of it as well. So yeah, if you're going to come to Cyprus, then absolutely, you learn to roll with the punches, Yeah, the bureaucracy is a pain in the ass, but then there's a lot of things that aren't. And I would still rather be here with the bureaucracy than in the UK where you've got loads of red tape for the sake of red tape. That's just me. I think we're very much aligned on that. Jade, it was Bank of Cyprus. Was it? Okay. Bank of Cyprus on Masoggy Road. I can't think where that is. Okay. Right. Well, I just need the same birthday as you and I'm set. Right. Happy to use your affiliate code. Oh, that's very kind. Thanks, Johnny. Look, this isn't the point of the video. These videos, totally unsponsored. I don't ask for anything. I'm not going to give you an affiliate code. I could, but I'm not going to. Look, if you want to, I can ping me on Instagram. In fact, we're on Facebook anyway, so I can ping you on Facebook. But I appreciate you wanting to do that. That isn't the point of me doing this, but I appreciate it. So thank you. Stuart. Hey, Stuart. First time attendee here. Good to have you on. Are you thinking of moving to Cyprus now? Jade, I can only think the lady has some kind of suspension going. Let me read again. I only think that the lady had some kind of suspension thing going on because me having the same birthday to relieve me from charges made no sense to me. But sure as shit, wasn't about to argue. Why would you? Absolutely, why would you? Totally get it. I just want your birthday. Yeah, no worries, Johnny. No problem. Happy to help. Jade, such an honest review, and I suggest anyone listening to this to take heed. Most honest review ever I've come across, and I'm living here currently. Minor differences, but overall, so my experience. I appreciate that. And that's what I'm trying to do. Like I say, trying to be unfiltered with it. But it is just my opinion. It's just my story. It's my experience, but you've got different experience. So that's because you were born on the day. You were born on that fateful day. We're the same age. Was it just the same birthday? Were we actually the same age as well? Right. Apart from giving a yellow slip, but don't have the 5-year or guessing. Okay. Mike, my understanding for the pink slip, I need to demonstrate a certain level of income. Do I need to put my income through the Cypriot bank, or can my income come through Revolut? Oh, that's a good question, Mike. I can't remember. I don't want to advise you wrong, and none of this is advice, but I don't want to advise you wrong. You do have to so yes, you have to have a certain level of income, first of all. Now, I know because you and Joanne want to come across, there will be a level of income that you need for two people. For anybody else watching this, if you're coming across and you've got children, then the amount that you need goes up, it steps up every time you have another dependent on you. So if you are a single person, your income needs to be less than if you're a family of four. Do you need to put that income through the Bank of Cyprus, though? I don't think you do. My understanding from what I remember, but please do check this as you're going through, you just need to be able to prove your income. And you can prove that from UK banks, you can prove that from the UK businesses or your pensions, things like that. But you will need to maintain a balance in Cyprus in your Cypriot accounts. I don't want to say what that balance is because two reasons. One, I can't remember. Two, if I give you a balance, even if I looked it up right now, somebody watching this a year from now, and it's going to be different anyway. So just whatever the date is for you right now watching this, just look it up. Look up what that minimum threshold is, or speak to your immigration person, and they will tell you how much you need to have in the account. It's going to go up every year. But the thing is, and something to bear in mind with this actually, if you are coming through on a pink slip, and this isn't advice, this is just what I'm seeing and what I've experienced and what I've seen from other people. If you're coming through on a pink slip and you've proved your certain level of income, if your income is at a level where you're kind of just scraping through, you're like, yeah, okay, we've just about got enough. Yeah. Depending on what your projections are for the subsequent years, that threshold can move up, and it can typically move up every year. And you never know how much it's going to move up. So just because you're eligible this year, next year, you might not be if you haven't got the level of income that you need. So they could, you run this risk for things like 5 years before you get permanent residency, or unless you've invested in a property. If you invest in a property and you've got permanent residency, then you're okay as well. But if you're coming through on a pink slip, you have to prove your income. That threshold is going to go up every year, and you never know how much it's going to go up by. So what I would probably do if I was doing this now, today, 2026, I would look at what, say, the last 5 years were, the different thresholds, and you'll be able to find it online, chat GPT or something. Get the thresholds for what it was for a pink slip for the last 5 years, take an average, and then kind of project it over the next 5 years and go, right, what's my income likely to be doing at that point? Because if it's not going up each year, but the pink slip barriers move, you could find yourself in 2 or 3 years from now where you go, actually, now I don't have enough income. So just something to bear in mind. Lee, do you bring a load of cash over from the UK to change up over there? Is it better to do that as another option too? And if so, where exactly do you keep your safe? I'm not going to tell you that. No, okay, let me be serious for a second. So the only time I brought cash over was when I needed to pay my first landlord in cash. And I was traveling with 8 grand because it was 2 grand a month, 3 months up front, plus 2 grand for a deposit. And I had to pay him 8 grand in cash. That is the only time I've brought cash with me from the UK. And it is the only time that I've even worried about having cash and trying to change it here and all the rest of it. The reason being is that you will get a better exchange rate with Revolut and with Wise than you will changing money in your local travel agent here or your local bank here or whatever. You're always going to get better exchange rate. So if you're on a paid plan with Revolut, you can just draw cash out. That's the thing. You can just draw it out and you're going to get near Google exchange rates. You won't get that if you bring cash. And then you've asked about the safes. You've got the security aspect. What are you going to do if you've got 8 grand in cash? I think you can only bring about 10 grand from the UK anyway. But let's say you've got 10 grand in cash and then you change it. Well, then you've got to put it somewhere. Like you just said, you've got to put it in a safe, right? I don't know if you guys saw the video that I did about safety and security in Cyprus or not. I don't. For people watching this, you might not have seen it, but I know somebody a couple of years back who they bought a safe here in Cyprus. They bought a 200 kilo safe here in Cyprus because they needed to put some things in it. 2 weeks after buying their safe, it got stolen. Like, people actually broke into the house and they stole the guy's safe. Like, 4 or 5 people came and they carried a 200 kilo safe and took it away with them, ripped it off the wall, took it away with them. Now, for me, that was one of two things. Is either an inside job from the safe company where you go, here's a list of our high profile customers, and nobody buys a 200 kilo safe unless you're going to put loads of valuable things in it. This guy lost about 40 grand's worth of stuff, gold, silver, some watches and some cash. So it was either an inside job from the safe company, which you hope it wouldn't be, but if it wasn't, then you've probably got organized criminals looking at the delivery vans. They'll know where the safes are picked up from. They can watch where they get delivered to, and then they can just monitor all these safes going around. Either way, unless you've got a need for cash, unless you're running a cash-rich business here, I would just use something like Revolut or Wise, because you haven't got to worry about storing it anywhere. You're going to get a better exchange rate anyway. And for me, the hassle of just carrying cash around, although Cyprus is a lot safer than the UK, I'd rather just not carry that much cash around. So I don't know if that answers your question, Lee, but that's kind of where I'd get to anyway. That's how I would do it. As for where, though, because you've asked where would you do it? No, you didn't. Did you? No, you didn't ask where. You just asked where I put them safe. Okay. Yeah, I don't know where is anyway. I don't know where I do it. To be honest, it's going to be banks or it's going to be, sort of like high street, like exchange places, but you're going to get a rubbish rate. You'll get a rubbish rate for sure. Stuart, are you subject to a credit check or anything in order to open a personal account with a Cyprus bank? That's a great question. No, I don't believe I was, because they're not giving you credit. They are not giving you any credit facility. This is why you can't get a credit card here. Although Bank of Cyprus will do credit cards, if you're coming to Cyprus from the UK as a third country national, you're not going to get a credit card here. You won't get a credit card for a long time because you've got no banking history here. So they didn't do a credit check on me because I wasn't taking credit. Interestingly, even CETA, as the phone company, they didn't do a credit check on me. They just took my passport number and were like, you got money? Yeah, cool. Pay us then. That was it. that was the extent of their checks. Like, you've got money, we want money, let's do a trade. That was it. So there wasn't even a credit check for the phone companies. And that was on a contract as well. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Stuart. Does a personal credit card, so Stuart again, does personal credit work in the same way as the UK, subject to a credit check, etc.? It's a good question. I've never taken a loan out here, so I don't know. I've never taken a loan out. However, we were looking at mortgages for some property a while back, and that was going to be subject to credit. So yeah, it's going to be. I've never actually taken a personal loan, but if you wanted to buy a car on a loan, things like that, they'll probably do a credit check, probably. But again, based on my experience with CETA, and I appreciate this is limited experience here, but based on my experience with CETA, if you can prove that you can make the payments, it's Cyprus. They'll probably be like, yeah, okay, fine. You've got the bandwidth. So, unlike the UK where you've got Experian, you've got these credit agencies where you have a credit score. I'm not aware, and if anybody's watching this that is aware, do Cyprus have a credit scoring agency on the island? I've not heard of one. That's probably why CETA isn't doing checks on me. But banks will want to see proof of income and all of that good stuff. But yeah, I actually don't know, Stu. It's a good question. Like I say, there isn't an Experian on the island that I'm aware of, but if anybody is aware of one, please let people know in the comments. It'd be good for everybody else. Path to Pathos, Brian, 37 watching and only 12 likes. Come on, people, hit the thumbs up to help Mark's channel. I really appreciate that, Brian. That's really kind. Thank you. Go on, guys, give it. Yeah, hang on. Let's. We're running out of questions in a second, so let's go to this for just a second. if you are finding it useful, if you're finding it entertaining in the slightest, or you think somebody else might get the benefit from it, then please do give it a like and share. And if you're not subscribed already, then please do subscribe. But I think if you can share it with people, you think somebody's going to get some benefit from it, you think it's going to help them, then please do share it. Because look, when I moved to Cyprus, there was nobody documenting this sort of stuff. There's nobody documenting what life was really like. And so I'm trying to do it now for the rest of us. I'm trying to literally show you warts and all. It's why I'm showing people my bills. It's why I'm showing people everything I can to help people make an informed decision about moving out to the country if you're thinking about moving out to the country. So yeah, if you can give it a like and share, much appreciated. If you don't want to, that's also cool. I appreciate you guys being on anyway. We've now got 40 people on, so I appreciate you guys being on regardless. So thank you very much. And cheers, Brian, again. Thanks very much. Nutsin. Done, Brian. Thank you. Brian's like my personal sponsor on this channel. Thanks, Nutsin. Thanks, Brian. Brian, never having an online account, revolution. How do I pay cash into one over here? Oh, that's a good question. So typically, Brian, you can't. And what you'd end up doing is, that's a really good point, actually. It's a really good question. So if you have a cash business where you need to pay cash, maybe you work in a restaurant, or not work in a restaurant, maybe you own a restaurant, maybe you own something where you're taking cash, you're going to want a Cypriot account because you cannot walk into a Revolut branch and pay cash in. So you are still going to need a Cypriot account if you're taking cash. Really good point. So if you have a Revolut account, Brian, what you need to do is you need to pay money into a local account somewhere where you can pay it in. And then you would have to transfer it across. And the Bank of Cyprus will charge you for transferring it across, no doubt. And also, I'm going off on a rant again. Every time I talk about Bank of Cyprus, I go on a rant. Not only are they going to charge you for it, but it takes freaking ages. Like for some reason, when we send money between Bank of Cyprus and wherever, it seems to take days to clear. And Revolut is like, done. I do not get it. But anyway, yeah, to answer your question, you need to pay cash into a Cypriot account or at least somewhere where you can walk into a high street. That's a really good point. Should probably put that in my content. Never mind. Actually, for those of you who don't know, I mean, I'm sure you do know because Brian's been around a lot longer than I have, but Path to Paphos is also a YouTube channel on here Brian runs. And if you're not subscribed to that, then you should subscribe to Brian as well because Brian puts some really good content out. Brian, I've been watching some of your stuff actually, and I like your lives that you do as well. So I think it's a good format. What else we got? Premium 2477. Do you have any savings or investment accounts in Cyprus? Pretty sure savings don't pay interest in Cyprus. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we try not to keep too much in cash anyway, so it gets invested into things. So we don't have a specific investment account. We don't just put money into an account to get savings of like 3% or something. Inflation wipes that out anyway. So no is the answer to that question. If you're asking me whether you should, I guess it depends on personal circumstances. It depends how much you want to keep liquid. It depends on how much you want to keep access to and everything else. But if you've got other investment vehicles, you're always going to do better than a bank anyway. I would leave as little money in a bank as possible, would be my advice on that. It's not financial advice. It's just my opinion. Lee, does the annual income threshold change once you turn from temporary to permanent residency? Now, when you've got permanent residency, you've got permanent residency. That's it. And so you're good. If you're investing in a property and you buy a property out here, so if you spend more than 300K for a brand new property, then you can get residency via investment. If you want to buy something secondhand, you can buy a commercial property, and that could be something secondhand. You could buy 2 or 3 shops or a garage or something like that. So depending on what you buy will depend on how you can get your permanent residency. But yeah, typically, if you are looking to get permanent residency and you get it via investment, or if you've been here for the 5 years, once you've got it, you're good to go. Mike, are there any bills and utilities that you can't pay from Revolut? I haven't found any. I have automatic payments going out of Revolut. I have automatic payments going out of Wise because, again, I use both accounts. Because the thing is, you have, if you want money coming in, you've got the IBAN numbers. If you've got money going out, it's just the same. It's just a normal account. It's just a bank account for all intent purposes. So the only difference is if you have a Revolut, if you have a Revolut account in the UK, and then you move to Cyprus, you will need to close your Revolut account in the UK and you open up a European Revolut account. Don't know why that is. I think mine's in Lithuania or somewhere random. If you look at the banking address, it's somewhere random. It's not Cyprus, but it is Cyprus for all intent purposes. And it's great because it means that I can do stuff in Poland and I've got my IBAN number. So if I want to move money between Polish family or accounts or whatever, then it's super easy. But yeah, the utilities you can pay, you can set up direct debit, standing orders, all of that stuff. You know, my CETA bill goes out every month. My internet bill goes out every month. It's just same as a normal bank, really. Barry, Monica, you mentioned EU nationals don't need to open Cypriot bank accounts for residency. Is there anything else they don't need comparing to English? Yeah, there's a few things. This isn't a definitive list because I'm not an immigration specialist. There are things like, and this is going from memory now as well, I don't believe you need to worry about police checks. So we had our police checks done, but then we didn't need to worry about it because I came through on the yellow slip. There were certain health checks I think we needed to do. I could be wrong here. I think if you're an EU citizen, Brian, you might know this. If you're an EU citizen, you don't need to get all the blood tests done and the health checks done and everything else because so on the island you have to have tests done, and if you've got any kind of infectious disease, like if you've got HIV, for instance, then you can't come in. You know, if you've got so you have to have blood tests done as a third country national. I don't believe, Brian, maybe keep me honest. I don't believe you need to do that if you're an EU national. So I don't recall my wife or even I needing to do that in the end because I came through on yellow slip. So we started, like I say, we started down the pink slip process, but then we flipped over to the yellow slip once my guy helped me out. But yeah, so the police you don't need to do. I think there's with wedding certificates as well. I think if you were coming from the UK, you probably need to get that stamped and apostilled. But I think if you're in the EU, you don't need to. There's going to be, it's definitely easier if you're an EU citizen. You've got free movement. You've got the ability to work out here. So as a third country national, I technically couldn't work out here until I came through on my wife's slip. I could take dividends. I could have income from overseas, but I couldn't legally work here if I was coming through on no, I can on a pink slip. Sorry, that's not wrong. So if I was say doing it through permanent residency and you do permanent residencies via investment, you then can't legally work here. But if you are coming through on a pink slip or yellow slip, then you can work. But there are definitely differences. Like, you know, if you're an EU citizen, you just have that legal right, that free movement of people, you can come out and work. So there are definitely differences. I don't know all of them, but speak to somebody who, if you have somebody helping you with immigration, they're going to know all of this inside and out anyway. But because you are an EU citizen, you're going to have it much easier than somebody coming from the UK anyway, or coming from England in the UK. If you're a third country national, it's a lot harder. Not impossible, but it's just a lot harder. Jade, CETA does absolutely screw you. They literally tell you you don't register your number and attach it to your slip. They threaten to shut my number down. They're a nightmare. CETA are a nightmare. I use them because they were giving me pretty decent speeds on the island. When I'm away from where I live, I get decent speeds. But for some reason, where I live, I don't get very good speeds anymore. Now, what I don't like about CETA, I might have mentioned this last week actually, but I'll mention it again because not everybody was on last week. What I don't like about CETA is we are on like a family plan. So I pay, I think it's like €60 a month. It's not the cheapest, but it gives me the fastest 5G speeds on the island because not, yeah, I was talking about this last week because not all 5G speeds are equal. So you can sign up to somebody like Primitel or you can sign up to, what was the purple one? Couldn't remember it last week either. It's the purple one. They've got purple loop. What's it called? Can't remember. There's the internet. I'm gonna have to look this up. Somebody will know. Somebody put it in the comments. There's a purple. Anyway, right. No, hang on. I've got to find this. It's going to annoy me. Let's make it interactive. Come here. Right. Let's go. Cyprus phone provider. What are they called? CableNet. Yes, these guys. So, in fact, I'll just show you this because you'll see here phone deals with limited 5G. And go to mobile, and we'll go on here. I reject your cookies. Go away. Why is it not working? I'm already on mobile. I'm on mobile. Let's just go 5G. Where? Oh, I'm just taking up your time now. I don't want to do that. What a rubbish website. I don't like it. I've fallen on mobile plans. Maybe I've just got reading. There you go. So this is saying maximum 5G speed, but the thing is, maximum 5G speed for cable net will be different to maximum 5G speed from CETA. So the maximum 5G that these will offer you, you just need to check this because not all 5G is the same. So you go to CETA and you can pay like €10 a month and you'll get 5G speeds up to 25 meg or something. I can't remember the exact threshold. But anyway, they tell you it's 5G speed and then they cap it anyway. So it might as well be bloody 4G speed. But the point is, so I'm on this €60 a month plan with CETA. And that gives both me and my wife separate numbers, unlimited everything, maximum speed on the island. And you just pay monthly and it comes out of my account monthly. Now, something happened last month, end of February, I think it was. Something happened. Can't remember exactly what it was, but the payment failed. And it was my fault, but the payment failed. And so as soon as I noticed the payment had failed, well, I actually didn't notice the payment had failed. That's so within 24 hours of the payment failing, I knew my payment had failed because I got used to the CETA pattern. So within 24 hours of payment failing, my phone went offline. My wife's didn't. My phone, I couldn't make calls. I couldn't use the internet. Couldn't do anything. So I had to tether to my wife's phone to figure out, oh, hang on a minute, this failed. So I get on the phone to CETA. Well, I got on the phone to get onto the chat to them. Because I reinstated the payment, remade it, because for some reason, they don't try the payment again. Like if you've got a direct debit in the UK and the payment fails, they try things like 2 or 3 times before they just give up. And CETA are like, pay us, payment failed. Okay, fine, we'll cut you off then. Like, come on, guys, really crap service. So they cut me off. And then on the Saturday, so literally this was the Friday, the payment should have gone through on the Friday, didn't, paid it on the Saturday. Paid it on the Saturday, nothing. Sunday, messaging them, what's going on? Why have I got no signal? Why can't I access anything? Oh, well, yeah, it was because the payment failed. Yeah, I know it failed. Well, first of all, why didn't you try and retake it? Anyway, besides the point, when are you going to turn it back on? Yeah, we can see the payment's all gone through. Great. When are you going to turn it on? Oh, well, it should have restarted automatically, but it hasn't. So we'll turn it on now for you. Okay, cool. How long is that going to take? And that took another day. So literally from the payment fell on Friday, I didn't have any mobile service really until I think it was like Monday afternoon. And I'm just like, why? Like, why is it that painful? Again, this comes back to why are things painful in Cyprus at times? And CETA are terrible. Like you go into the CETA shop, it doesn't matter where you go into the CETA shop and you've got the happiest people on the planet working there. Like these people are recruited because they are so freaking happy and love their life. I've never gone into the CETA shop and actually felt like I wasn't disturbing the person, right? You go in, you ask for help, and they look at you like you're just spat in their coffee or something. It's like, oh, I'm sorry to make you work, I'm getting you to do your job. Thanks anyway. So yeah, I don't like CETA, but I've stuck with them for now because, like with the banks, if you go on to Trustpilot or anywhere else, you go on to Epic, you go on to Primitel, you go on to CableNet, they all get shocking reviews. So I think they're all going to be as bad as each other. So I've just kind of stuck with them because they were allegedly the fastest. The only thing that's making me think about changing from CETA now is that the service in my area is pretty shocking. So anyway, there's a rant on CETA. Pathos, Brian, thanks for the kind words. Really appreciate it. No problem at all. No, happy to support. And like I say, I like your content. It's good. So no problem at all, Brian. Adrian, are you with an EU partner? Does the lower annual income requirement, all right, does this, are you with an EU partner? I can't even read. Are you with an EU partner? Does this lower the income requirement? My partner is also from the EU and we're thinking of moving over in 2028. Well, Adrian, you're in luck because not only does it remove that requirement, so I don't have an income requirement anymore. Not only does it remove that requirement, but my wife had to sign a bit of paper that says she's responsible for me financially, which I thought was freaking hilarious. So basically, if I can't pay, she has to pay for me. I was like, right, I'm kicking back. So you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine, Adrian. Fox Factory FX. Cool. How much ports does Cyprus have and how dependent Cyprus is on imports? How much ports does Cyprus have and how? I'm going to assume you mean imports there. So how much? I think that's right. Sorry, I'm trying to just get my head around the question. How much ports does Cyprus have and how dependent Cyprus on imports? If you're asking about imports and exports, which I think is the question, but if not, please correct me in the comments. So it's an island. And as a result, most things are imported, which as a result means most things are expensive. You're kind of paying the island tax. Now, I know the UK is an island, but the population is like 70 million people versus like about 1.3 million people in Cyprus. So you don't get the economies of scale that you get in the UK. And when you're importing things into Cyprus, just everything is more expensive. So if you're asking what are they importing, like literally, fruits are imported. I showed this a little while back, but blueberries, like a kilo of blueberries here, when I took a photo of it, was 24 euros. Kilo of blueberries in the UK is like £8. So food can be more expensive here. Like fruits, especially berries, strawberries, things like that are expensive. Bananas, cheaper than chips because they're grown on the island. Oranges, quite cheap. I say quite cheap. And like, anything that's grown locally is cheap. Olives, cheap. You know, but because it's a small island, there isn't much produced locally, so they have to import a lot of things, and that's technology, it's food, it's cars. Oh, that makes my heart bleed. Yeah, like cars, really expensive out here, for what you get for your money. So it is expensive. And where's I going to go with this? Yeah, because you are on an island, not only is it expensive, but the range is quite often limited. So if you're into tech, I like my tech. If you're into tech, you can't always get the exact thing you want because the things that are on the island that are quite often branded as high speed or branded as the latest, it's from a few years ago. Like the networking kit out here, yes, you can get some of it is pretty decent, some of it. And, you can get some of the ubiquity access points and things like that on the island, or you can get them shipped in. But then you go for like a bog standard TP link, like a mesh or something like that, And on Amazon, you get no problem. You pick which one of 10 that you want, whichever one you like the sound of, and you just pick it and it orders it and it turns up the next day. And here, you do not have that luxury. You have the 2 or 3 brands that are prevalent on the island, and the speeds. If you just read the box and you don't know what you're talking about, you'll be like, "Oh, great! It says high speed on the box, so it must be high speed." And it's not. It never is. It's always slow speed, or it's speeds from about 3 years ago. So you've got the island tax, you've got the lack of selection or the lack of variety, let's say. But that's just part and parcel of island living. You typically there's nothing you can't get on the island. I've said this before. There's nothing you can't buy on the island if you're prepared to spend more or you're prepared to wait longer. You get anything you want, but you import it and it's going to cost you more. You're going to have to wait longer. Hopefully that helps anyway. Hopefully that answered the question. Brian, Revolut account is probably Romanian as that's where Revolut are based. Yeah, maybe. I've got it in my head though. I'm sure it's Lithuania. I'm saying that now. Right. Revolut EU. I'm not doing this to prove anything. I just don't know. So let's have a look. Let's make it interactive. Revolut EU. I could have sworn. I don't know if it makes any difference, but I could have sworn. Let's have a look at the bottom. That's FCA. There you go. So that's the UK. This is CY. Anybody seen it on here? Lithuania. There you go. Bank of Lithuania. So it's Lithuanian. That's what I thought it was. So it's Lithuanian, not Romanian. Okay, so Brian, again, no health checks, no set amount of income, just show that you can financially support. No ARCO police check. Marriage certificate needs apostilled. I'm an MEU1. Same for my wife on the MEU2, UK citizen. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Brian. Cheers. Alex, pretty sure you can't work in Cyprus on a pink slip, temporary residence permit. I don't know. I don't know. Can you work in Cyprus on a pink slip? Let's have a look. No, you can't. 10 Cyprus Unfiltered points for Alex. Well done. They entitle you to literally nothing. Just the respect of everybody in the chat. Well done, Alex. Yeah, okay. Okay, you can't work on a pink slip. I thought you could. But if you are on a pink slip, I assume then that this is going to be the same as if you are doing permanent residency. So you can have an income from abroad. You're not allowed to work in the country then. So like if you're doing this via permanent residency, your income has to come from abroad. You can take dividend payments from abroad. So for people who've got UK businesses or stocks and shares, things like that, then you can definitely take that as an income from abroad, and you can earn that. But looks like you can't work. The same here. It's strictly for retirees, investors, or remote workers. There you go. I'll come back to this. It's strictly for retirees, investors, or remote workers earning an income from outside of Cyprus. So it's the same as the permanent residency then. So on the yellow slip, I have the full legal right to work here, which is awesome. Again, it doesn't affect me, to be honest, because I'm not selling to Cypriot businesses. I'm not selling to Cypriot people. And, I could still set up a company out here and I could be a director of a company and stuff like that. There are limitations for sure. But yeah, if you're on a yellow slip and you're lucky enough to be going down that route, then you don't need to worry about it. But yeah, thanks, Alex. Much appreciated. Stephen, we've got Primitel. You were guessing a Primitel. Yeah, no. So yeah, Primitel is one of them, but no, it was CableNet. That was the one I was thinking. They have like purple loop plans or something. That's where the purple comes in. But anyway, Lee, RCO and marriage certificate needs to be apostille. Costs £50 per document and can take up to 20 working days, although we got ours in 5. Yeah, cool. Nice one. And if I'm not mistaken, Lee, where did you get that done? I know you have to get it done UK authorities, you get it done with like a solicitor or something. Because if you've got kids as well and you bring your kids over, then that needs to be done as well for them. So again, it's kind of not a marriage certificate, but you need to get certain certificates done, like birth certificates and things like that. You might need to get translated and apostilled as well. So we're having to do the same with our boy now for something for Gessie, in fact. Brian, might seem unfair for UK, but all third nationals are treated the same. So UK on the same restrictions as little state back in back and beyond, just a standard way of working. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's the price of Brexit, isn't it? And we won't have a Brexit discussion tonight, but that is the price of Brexit, and it makes the thing is, whether you were for Brexit or against Brexit, what it has done for people wanting to come to Cyprus, it is no longer a given. You now need to have a certain level of income. You need to have a certain level of means to be able to support yourself here. And that isn't just financial in terms of an income for money, but it's also you have to be able to support yourself health-wise, because you won't necessarily get access to Gessie. Therefore, you need to support yourself from a health perspective as well via insurance or other means. So Brexit definitely makes it harder, but it's not impossible. It does make things more complicated, unfortunately. And like I say, I thought I was going down that route, and it was just by sheer luck that I happened to be married to Joanna, who's Polish. And that makes my life exceptionally easy, which I was very happy about. Interestingly, you say about the UK and everything else, Brian. So when my wife and I got married, there was literally zero benefit for her being married to me when she came to the UK. Like, people talk about the UK and immigrants and everything else. And, if she was illegal, she'd have probably got more benefit than being married to me. But by coming through as somebody that was working in the UK, married a British guy, and we were married, and she came across, and there was literally zero benefit for her. It wasn't like she got automatic rights to citizenship or a passport. She still had to go through the same number of years that anybody else would have done. She still had to take the citizenship test. There was literally no benefit her being married to me, coming to the UK, other than she got to marry me. I mean, that in itself is a benefit, I hope. But coming here, all of a sudden, by me being married to her, I had all of these benefits. And I'm not even, like, neither of us are Cypriot, but because I'm married to an EU citizen, I had all of these benefits then at my fingertips and my feet, same as you if you're Irish. And it was great. But people coming into the UK just didn't get that. Like I say, unless you're an illegal immigrant, or unless unless you're prepared to come and not do anything, then you don't really get anything in the UK, unfortunately. Lee, do you have a UK phone number so friends and family can call you cost-free? Yes. I had to think about that for a second. So yes, I do. I still have my business number in UK. I use my business number on WhatsApp, to be honest. In fact, Should probably get rid of it. I've got two, got two UK numbers that I keep and a Cypriot number. I'm a bit greedy. The two UK numbers I have, I dropped them both down. So one's a business line, one was a personal line. I dropped them both down to the minimum contract that I can have, which is about £5 or £6 a month. Because I don't need them as such. I have the business number so people can call me. My UK number, paying about £5 a month for it. I can't bring myself to let it go. I've been here nearly 3 years. I can't bring myself to let it go because just occasionally what happens is I get a two-factor authentication text that goes through to that flipping number. And I can't remember all of the services that I've registered with it. So for the sake of like £5 a month, I just like, I can't let it go because I might, there might be something I've forgotten about. I need to do this two-factor authentication. So I kind of hang on to it. I need to let it go, really. I should just kill it and get rid of it. But yes, Lee, to answer the question, I do keep UK numbers. That's what people call me on. But let's be honest, even if you just had a Cypriot number, if you're not doing business, and for those of you that are keeping a business in the UK, you'll probably keep your UK SIM. So I'm on O2, actually, just to put that out there. I'm on O2. And there's always got this fair usage policy of like, you're only supposed to be able to spend 60 days abroad or more or whatever. I've never had an issue with O2. I'm not saying you won't. I'm just saying that I've made phone calls from here business-wise, and my SIM, all right, it gets registered back in the UK maybe every couple of months because I'll go back for business. But because I'm outside of that 60 days in I think it's like 60 days in any 60 days in any 6-month period, I think it is. I'm well beyond that. Yet they don't seem to be charging me extra. And it's probably all down to fair usage and things like that, because it's not like I'm making loads of calls, but people can call me on it. I call them. I never seem to get a bigger bill than what I pay on my contract. But if you are going to get rid of all your Cypriot numbers and you're on WhatsApp, people can just WhatsApp you anyway. You can just do a WhatsApp call, or if you're on an iPhone, they can do FaceTime and things like that. So you don't need a UK number, but if you're keeping it for business, I kept mine. Just you can drop it down. Like I say, I pay for maximum speed and everything out here and drop it down. In fact, actually, while we're on the subject of this, for those of you that are running a business in the UK, for those of you that are then going to keep a UK number, what I find is when I go back to the UK on business, if I've got a Cypriot SIM card in my phone, so my iPhone that I use is dual SIM. If you go and you stay somewhere like the Premier Inn, quite often the Premier Inn seem to choke down the mobile signal. They then offer you internet for free. The internet they offer you for free is absolute crap. And then they charge you a premium for their premium internet, which gives you about 10 meg, and you can just about make a video call on it. So that really winds me up because I don't like it when people try and extract money from you, and it feels like extortion. They feel like they've got a captive audience. And for some reason, my O2 SIM card never seems to work. I never seem to be able to get an internet signal in the Premier Inn. It's like they know, and they close it all down, and they block it, and they close it all down. Last time I was there, though, my Cypriot SIM, I was getting like 60 meg on the internet. So I just tethered to my Cypriot SIM. And because with CETA, what they do is they will give you, even though I'm on unlimited data, I think it's up to, so they're up to 25 gig. In fact, I think it's up to 25 gig roaming in any 30-day period or something like that. But they'll give you up to 25 gig, I think it is. And it's the average of the previous 3 months of whatever you've used. So if you're using loads of data at home, it might not even be capped at 25 gig. There is a cap, but I can't remember what it's capped at. But let's say you're using loads of data walking around Cyprus and you've averaged 25 gig, let's say. Well, then when you go to the UK, you can have 25 gig roaming for free. And so I was able to do loads of video calls and everything else on my CETA SIM that I couldn't do on my O2 SIM, and I could barely do it on the Premier Inn's flipping premium internet, because all they've done is they've stuck a VPN, not a VPN, they've stuck a VLAN on or whatever, and they've basically choked it down, and they're giving you a tiny little amount of bandwidth, and they're making you pay through the nose for it. But my Cypriot SIM got me around all of that. So yeah, this is a really long answer to a question that nobody's asked. If you are looking to keep numbers, for me personally, bring the UK ones down to as cheap as possible, because you're going to be living in Cyprus. Bring them down to as cheap as possible. Keep them for two-factor authentication. If people need to ring you, they can. And when you've got your Cypriot SIM, when you go back to the UK, use that for your internet. Done. Alex, worth keeping an eye on validity of your Arco. We got ours too early, and we have to get a new set still be valid when our immigration appointment is due, valid for 6 months. Yeah, that's right. They do expire. That's a really good point. Actually, they do expire, and depending on how long the immigration takes, you might have to go back, and that's a faff. Then, if you have to go back to the UK and carry on and do things there, then it's an absolute faff. So, excuse me, sorry, I'm talking too much. What time are we on? Quarter to 11. I'm still going strong. I've still got 36 people online. We'll keep going. What we got? Jade, asparagus. Asparagus, then miss, but go to the man on the corner of Coral Bay. As asparagus are €4 rather than 8 in the supermarket. Okay. Yeah, that's good actually. That's a top tip. So what you'll find in Cyprus, in fact, let's do this. Let's go interactive. We didn't press the red button. That's all right. Sure. Let's go to Coral Bay. Taking you on a trip to Coral Bay. So a supermarket that a lot of people go to is somewhere here, Philippos. There you go, Phil's Grill in Philippos. And this is where a lot of people go shopping. A lot of tourists will go shopping here. And for all intents and purposes, it's just a supermarket. Now, to Jade's point, you can go here and you can buy some food in the supermarket, or you can carry on going up here, and there's loads of them dotted around, but I bet you the little guys on here, if I go here, drop this down, Ben and Jerry's, here he is. You can go to these little sheds, and they sell fruit and veg and stuff like that on the side. You get bananas, and yeah, it's cheaper than the supermarkets. And there's lots of them dotted around. And in the summer, you see lorries parked up at the side of the road with watermelons and everything else. And so you can just get this stuff on the side. And a lot of the time, it's produce that's grown locally, and they will be just selling it from their fields, from their own shops and things like that. So I won't show you our local one. That's a bit too close to home, but we've got one where they sell predominantly to supermarkets, and they sell to supermarkets, but then, one or 2 days a week, they will open up and just sell directly from their store. And yeah, you can get things cheaper for sure. And you get better quality, it's fresher and things like that. And that's the thing. While quite often you will pay more for food on the island, and there'll be people in the comments who can vouch for this. My wife said this. She was like, a tomato actually tastes like a tomato. And for me, I don't like tomatoes unless I'll eat tomato ketchup. I'll eat tomato based on pizza, but I won't eat tomatoes fresh and raw. But I do eat blueberries. I like blueberries. And although the blueberries out here are very expensive, the only way I can describe it is that a blueberry tastes like a blueberry. And when you go to the UK, a blueberry tastes like this watery little puffy thing that kind of resembles a blueberry. The flavors, because I guess they're stored in nitrogen fridges and everything else. Yes, you can buy blueberries and strawberries and things like that all year round in the UK. And in Cyprus, it's very seasonal. And so because it's seasonal, you can't get them all the time. But when you get them, even though they're more expensive, the quality of them just seems to be way better than what you'll ever get in the UK. The taste is nicer, it's fresher, it tastes like it should. So, yeah. Anyway, yes, €4 for asparagus. That's where we went with that. Going down lots of places tonight. €4 for asparagus. What else we got? Sakoba. So, Stephen, I was in the electric shop in Paya the other day. I noticed an Android box that was proudly boasting that it ran on Android 2.3. I passed. Yeah. I know, right? Interestingly, I have to ask this. Was the electric shop, was it JTech by any chance? And I'm assuming by electric shop, you mean like an electronic shop. Was it JTech by any chance? We've got Drum Phil. Hi, Mark. I'm UK. I'm a sole trader rather than a limited company as a I'm a sole trader rather than a limited company as a music tutor. Cool. Would I have to register as a business in Cyprus, or can I operate there as a sole trader with a personal bank account? Ooh, that's a good question. That is a good question. Right. My suspicion on this, I'm not an immigration specialist, but my suspicion is because you said you're from the UK, you're going to want to come and live and work out here. And therefore, as a sole trader, you're probably going to want to be living and working on the island. I think you're going to struggle. Check this with an expert. Check this with somebody that actually knows what they're talking about, rather than just my opinion. But the reason why I think you'll struggle is because if you're a sole trader here, then technically you're working as self-employed. Now, if you're from the UK and you don't have any EU ties, you're not going to be able to work out here necessarily. You don't necessarily have the legal right to work out here without being sponsored or without having a visa. Now, if you set up a limited company and you were a director of that company, you could take dividends. But technically, though, because you're a music instructor, unless you're doing online training, in fact, I'm making assumptions here. How do you teach music? Are you teaching it online? Is it like an online, excuse me, is it an online course? Is it an online mentorship? Are you teaching it through an online platform, or are you literally sitting in front of somebody teaching them to play piano or guitar or whatever instruments that you are teaching? Because that will change potentially how you do things as well. But my suspicion is, if you wanted to be a sole trader here, I think you're going to have problems if you're not an EU national. And I think you're probably going to end up having to do something via a formal route, would be my suspicion. But again, check it with somebody in immigration. But yeah, let me know how you're teaching, because that can change things as well. Lee, CETA now offer fiber to the room. I'm getting 6 rooms direct fiber to the room for €150, apparently guaranteed to access point all from there. Interesting. So they can absolutely do that. And if they're going to install the fiber, then that's great. I'm just wondering how they're going to do that with the routers. Are they putting in? I guess we can talk. I know you're coming out. We can talk about it when you come out. But if they are putting in the fiber to the room, like, so for instance, the way the fiber comes in into my house, we have a fiber coming in, and then I have that going into a mesh system. I literally, the ISP didn't like this. I got rid of their router, and they were like, "No, you can't do that." Well, I like, I can, because I'd spoken to somebody in their support team. They gave me all the credentials. So I binned off their router so that they couldn't actually connect into my house. And they were like, "Oh yeah, but we need to be able to support you." I'm like, "No, you don't. I'll support myself. I'll call you if I've got a problem." So I binned off their router and I connected it all through my kit, and I've lived happily ever after. I'm happy with that. And so I don't know how they'll do it. If you've got fiber in each room, I wonder if they're working on some kind of like CETA mesh or something. But I mean, it's cool, if it's all in. But I mean, my CETA, just to put it in perspective, so my CETA, bear in mind, I'm using, I know we talked about this, but I'm using the Mocha network adapters. For those of you that don't know what they are, actually, with Cypriot houses out here, what you'll find is Wi-Fi in your house, depending on the size of your house, because a lot of them are concrete construction. Trying to get Wi-Fi signal through the walls is a freaking nightmare. And so what you end up using, what we were using for a little while, was power line adapters with Wi-Fi meshes connected to the power line adapters. And then it was only by being out here, power line was driving me insane because it was too slow. And so I found these Mocha adapters, MOCA. You get them on Amazon for about £70. And it's basically gigabit speeds over the old coaxial cable. So if you've ever had like the old coaxial, like the cable that you have in the wall that your TV area used to plug into, it connects via that. And it's gigabit speed. So now I link my house up with that. So I literally have gigabit speed in the office because my internet is gigabit speed. I've got gigabit speed in the office and wherever else I need it. And I'm paying CETA. No, I'm not paying CETA at all. I'm paying Ecotech, and I pay them €60 a month for mine. And I've got, the fastest speed that I need all around the house. Obviously, I bought my kit up front, but then at least that kit I can use anywhere. So we can have a chat anyway. When you come out, we can have a chat. Well, no, it sounds like you've already bought it, but that's cool. Brian, my bad. Sorry. Yeah, no worries. Lithuania. Yeah, no worries. Like I say, I was about 90% sure I wasn't 100%, but it's cool. Lee, online. I don't know what my question was. What's online? I don't know. I can't remember, Lee. I'm sorry. Brian, got to go. Sorry. Great stream. Thanks. Bye all. Cheers, Brian. Thanks for having you on. Thanks for joining. It's good to have you on. Lee, good night, Brian. Simon, ever been tempted to get by with an eSIM instead of a mobile phone contract in Cyprus? Yeah, I have eSIMs. So my phone has one physical SIM card slot, and I can have up to about 10 eSIMs on the phone or something like that. But you can only have 2 active SIMs at any one point in time, irrespective of whether they are eSIMs or physical SIMs. So if you have so I think my local SIM is, yeah, that's right. So my local SIM, my CETA SIM, I kept as a physical SIM card so that I could change it between phones if I ever needed to. And then my UK SIMs are now eSIMs in the phone. Lee, have you been out in the sun today, or are you red over the bank ordeal? I've been out in the sun today. I'm glad somebody noticed. It's actually been sunny today. Me, right now, right, because you've asked, and because you're giving me shit. Let me pull up a photo. let me. Where we go. I need to just go to my private. I have too many windows. Let me just open this. Because Lee's giving me abuse. Let me pull up some photos. For those of you that don't know, it's been raining in Cyprus a hell of a lot. And I know some of you come out, some of you watching this have come out, and it has been raining a lot over the last few weeks. In fact, over the last few months, it's been raining. And so, let me show you this. If you've never seen green Cyprus, this was down near Agios Georgios. In fact, I can show you where this was. Let me just move this away a second, go to the maps. I didn't know we were going here tonight, but we'll go there because Lee's giving me grief. So we were earlier today in the sun, had the roof down as well. We went over here. And if you've ever seen the movie, in fact, I'll come back to this. If you've ever seen the movie Find Me Falling, it's a movie that was on Netflix, a movie that was filmed in Cyprus. And in the movie, there is this church. If you've never been there, it's actually really nice, really cool to go. Been there at Easter, it's quite cool. And we've been there recently at Christmas, there's Christmas markets there and stuff like that. But anyway, so we were here today and we walked down here and we were walking. This pathway here takes you down to the hotels. So me and my boy were walking down there. Oh, I'm showing you, and I've not even got right. There we go. Right. Let me okay, let me tell you that again. So for those of you who have seen the movie Find Me Falling, this church is the one that's in the movie. And so you've got this one, and it's very nice. And as I was saying, been there at Easter, you've got the Christmas markets and things like that happen there as well. So it's all very nice. And you've got very nice views and stuff like that. And they've just refurbished it all. In fact, you can see some of the refurbishment that was going on here. So this has all been redone now. It's lovely. But anyway, so me and my boy, we were down here today. We walked down to these rocks and we went down here and we were just there. And actually, top tip, you get turtles coming in here. It's quite cool. You get some turtles swimming in, which is why you're no longer allowed to go snorkeling in there. But before I knew you couldn't snorkel in there, my now business partner took me snorkeling there with the boys one time. And we went out about 4 in the afternoon. And he was telling me that you could sometimes see turtles in the morning, sometimes see them in the evening, but very rarely outside of those times. And as he's telling me, this freaking huge sea turtle. The shell was massive. I've never seen one that big. And in the wild, I'd never seen one at all. And it swam underneath us into the harbour. And that's where it came in. So anyway, you get turtles coming in here, which is why they don't like you snorkeling in there. In fact, you get turtles, to be fair, all up and down here. And you go all the way up here and you've got Lara Beach and stuff like that up here somewhere. Lara Beach, there, that one. So the Turtle Beach where they all hatch. And here's a top tip. If you ever want to go to a cafe that's nice, don't go to Lara Cafe because it's shocking. That says 4 stars. I wouldn't give it 4 stars. I think that's 877 friends of the owner because it was horrible. Horrible place. Anyway, it's my opinion. Let's come back here. So we were down here today and then we went walking down here. Now this is ruining what I was going to say because it looks green. It's not. It's normally like a desert. But anyway, because it's been raining so much, this is what you see. And this is what we've seen today. So it's actually green. Walking along, got the hotels there, big Pep St. George's Resort, walking down here, and it's just, that's all there. This is all green here. And it was just freaking lovely. It was really nice. So, yeah, we were there today with my boy, but we were there today, and yeah, that's what we're doing. And if I just, there you go, because you asked, I was in the sun, and yes, I've caught the sun, because I'm still British. And I thought, don't need sun cream, be all right, be fine. Just going to go for a little drive, be fine. Anyway, that was that. What else have we got? Anybody else going to give me grief? Premium 2477. Best to set up as limited company in Cyprus as a music tutor, non-dom. If lessons are via online calls to UK consumers, then no VAT would be chargeable in UK or Cyprus. Yeah, that's right. You can Yeah, because it's outside of the EU at that point. Right. Stephen, the Payer Electrical Shop is the biggest place on the main road. GS, that's okay. Can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to try. Just by Peggy's Secret Garden. The woman there thought I was trying to steal stuff and follow me around the shop. No, I'll be honest. Actually, maybe you just had that look about you. Maybe you look like you're trying to steal stuff. But I do find that whenever I go into a shop in Cyprus, they see you, and especially if it is a smaller shop as well, they see you and they just follow you around. And I don't think it's because I think you're going to steal. I think it's just because they want to sell you stuff and they want to provide a service. And I just like to be left alone. Like genuinely, I like to be left alone. And if I need help, I'll ask for it. And I get why they do it. Of course, they want to sell stuff, and they're trying to be helpful, and I get that. But yeah, no, I just want to be left alone. So Joanna's my wife, opposite Elena's. Yes. Okay. I still don't know it, but it sounds like there's one there. So that's cool. Right. There are no more questions coming through. I'm still going strong if people want to keep going. So while we wait for a few more questions to come through, I'm just going to go back to this. I'm going to pimp myself out and I'm going to say, look, guys, if you are finding this useful in any way, shape, or form, please give it a share to anybody else you think might find it useful. If you see people asking questions on Facebook and you think anything I've talked about might help them out, then please do just give it a share. And the more people I can get seeing this stuff, the more it's going to help me out. But more importantly, it's going to help them out more because, look, when I moved to Cyprus 3 years ago, or was moving to Cyprus 3 years ago, nobody was really documenting stuff in this level of detail, and nobody was really showing what life was like out here. So I'm trying to document it for the rest of us. So please, if you are finding it useful, then just share it with people, help as many people as we can. And if you're not subscribed already, then maybe you can think about subscribing. That would be freaking cool too. And in the meantime, I appreciate you all for tuning in. I appreciate everybody tuning in every Sunday night. And I will come back to now the questions. And we'll see if there's anything else coming through. Drumfield, right. I'm a dual Cypriot citizen. I would be teaching online. Okay. Well, then you're fine. You'd be absolutely fine. So if you're a Cypriot citizen, right, okay, right. Let me come back up to your original question because it's scrolling down, it's moving down quite a bit. Let me come to your original question. So I'm a sole trader rather than limited company as a music teacher. In the UK, I'm a sole trader. Would I have to register as a business in Cyprus? Well, no, you should be able to do the same thing then. You should be able to do the same thing. But actually, because a lot of it's based on UK law. So let's make this interactive, right? Can I be a sole trader in Cyprus? Yes, you can be a sole trader because a lot of it's based on Cypriot law, even the business laws and everything, because a lot of it is from the British Times. Can you use a personal bank account though? I don't know. I would worry that you can't, because even as a sole trader in the UK, I think you still need a business bank account rather than a personal bank account. I could be wrong. But again, for me, to set up a business bank account on something like Revolut, it was super easy. Wise don't do business bank accounts, or at least they didn't when I was trying to set one up. So I went down the Revolut route. But it's dead easy, and it's not expensive. You don't have to pay for a Revolut business account. Like my business account, well, actually, that's not strictly true. You don't have to pay the maximum amount. I pay about €7 a month or something for mine, €7 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, you might end up needing to get a separate bank account. But if you're already a Cypriot citizen, I mean, you can literally do what you want. You can work and live, and you've got way more flexibility than if you were just British. Simon, is Genius or Scrouts any good for electronics and other stuff instead of Amazon? I don't know about Genius, but Scrouts, yes, 100%. I know people personally that have ordered from Scrouts, and there's no problem at all. I think it's a Greek company, and yeah, they order stuff from there, or games and things like that will come. But to be fair, you can order from Amazon. It's just that if you order from the UK, you might get hit with VAT, so you don't want to do that. If you order from, say, Amazon DE or Amazon PL, you are going to get hit with not import charges. You avoid the import charges, but you get hit by delivery charges, which quite often can be more than the product itself. What some of our friends do is they will order stuff in Poland, send it to family, and then get their family to ship it via like DHL or whatever and ship it over that way because it can be cheaper. Or, and we haven't done this yet, but we have joked about it, that if we wanted to get a load of stuff, we would just club together with a load of friends, all get the stuff that we want from, say, Amazon PL, and then get it on a pallet and just ship the pallet across, you know? So, but, you know, Scrouts is fine. A lot of people order from Temu out here because, you know, it comes from China and there doesn't seem to be any import duties there, even though there probably should be, but nobody seems to get hit by import duties from Temu. Scrouts and Temu, absolutely fine. Adrian, just to let you know, it's been freezing cold and windy in the UK. I'm good. I don't know. I, w- I was in the UK recently. Actually, don't mean good. That's really how mean of me. How mean of me. I don't mean good. I actually think everybody deserves sunny weather. That's why I moved here. I think everybody should have sunshine. However, I was in the UK recently and it was sunnier in the UK for the week I was there than it was in Cyprus. And it was raining here all week. And I had the sunshine in the UK and it was raining here. So I was quite happy about that. But for the most part, yeah, the UK weather is terrible. But the Cypriot weather is not great. If you haven't seen my video on central heating, have a look at the video on central heating because it gets freaking cold here. It gets really cold. So worth thinking about. If you haven't visited Cyprus in the winter, you should definitely try it because it isn't like you see in the winter sun brochures all the time. And even if it is sunny, it's still not necessarily warm because if it's sunny here, it can be 12 degrees, 13 degrees outside. When you guys are scraping ice off your windows, we've got 12 degrees here. You go, poor Mark, only 12 degrees. We're freezing in like -2 or something. Yeah. But the thing is, you're freezing in -2, scraping ice off. And then you go into your house and your house is 20 degrees and every room is 20 degrees because you can set your central heating and it's just a given that it works. And out here, if you've got 12 degrees outside, depending on the insulation and the age of your house and everything else, you can quite often have 12 degrees inside. And that's freaking cold. Like you don't want to sit on a toilet seat that is 12 degrees. It's horrible. So yeah, I'm going down the toilet seat route. But anyway, it gets cold. I do feel bad for you that it's cold and windy in the UK and it's wet. I do feel bad for you. You should just move to Cyprus. That's what you should do. I guess that's why you're watching this channel because you're thinking about moving to Cyprus. So, Adrian, are you looking to move to Cyprus? And if so, when are you thinking about moving? Premium 24/7. You can be a sole trader or a limited company. You can use a current account in Cyprus as a sole trader. I have friends that do that, but if your customers are paying in, fees would be expensive. Yeah, because again, they charge you for everything. But yeah, it's a good shout. But yeah, I mean, me personally, I just think when it comes to tax and everything, I personally, my personal opinion is I would just keep it separate. I wouldn't want business money coming into my own personal account because then if you ever get audited or you need to submit accounts or anything like that, then you've got all of your personal finances mixed up with your business finances. And I would just keep it separate personally. Ferry, okay. In the UK, you can use a personal account as a sole trader. Okay. I can't remember, but yeah, okay, fine. I've not been a sole trader for years in the UK. About 20, early 2000s, I think. I did something as a sole trader then, so I can't remember. But yeah, cool. Thanks, Ray. Let's go Bradway. Stephen, so I ordered some Huawei earbuds on Saturday evening. They were delivered to my door on Tuesday morning. 35 euros, cheaper than Amazon, and free delivery. Ooh, interesting. Where was that from? Where did you order that from? That is interesting. Lee, me and Kelly are coming over in October and we are staying in Protaris. We are going to come over to Paphos for the night. Can you recommend anywhere to stay for the night? I can tell you where not to stay. Don't go to the King Elvathon, or however you pronounce it. Let's make this interactive. In fact, because you've said Protaris, let's show you a couple of things. So let's go to maps. Ask me nearer the time. On a serious note, I can give you some advice nearer the time, Lee. But you've got somewhere here. Let me just type it. King, that one. Somewhere there. Right. This one there. Right. So you've got this one. It's a 5-star resort. Now, this was the one. If you ever saw, I did a video in January And I was staying in this hotel because I kind of booked myself away. I was literally 12 minutes away from home, but I went to this hotel for the weekend so I could get some work done. And it's a 5-star hotel, but it wasn't really 5-star, if I'm honest. It didn't feel like it was 5-star. I mean, it looks nice in the pictures, but I mean, all right, that looks nicer than my room. But, again, like the pool and everything all looks nice. But no, I wasn't a fan of it. I wasn't a fan of the breakfast. I wasn't a fan of the rooms. In fact, Ferry, if I'm not mistaken, you guys were staying here, right? You and Monica, I think you were staying here rather than it just being the Mark show. What did you think? What did you guys think of this place? But I personally didn't. To say it was 5-star, I have this theory that if something says something in the name, that it probably isn't necessarily that thing. So because it says King Elverton, and then on the hotel it's got 5 stars, it reminded me of the quality hotels in the UK. And the quality hotels in the UK, for those of you that know, were the most budget of budget hotels I think that you could stay in the UK, short of staying in like somebody's spare room. It was the quality hotel was anything but quality, and I just find that this 5-star hotel was anything but 5-star. I mean, it kind of looks nice, but anyway. But I was saying about Protaris, so let me go over to Protaris. Let's take you over here because this is actually quite important. So when you come down to Protaris, you have what is called this main strip. Well, I say it's not called the main strip. I'm calling it the main strip. I'm just making it up. I'm calling it the main strip. Reason why I'm calling it the main strip, though, if I stick this little dude down here, you'll see there's a McDonald's on this corner somewhere. There it is. It's almost like I know what I'm talking about. And then you have this where it's all the main bars, restaurants, and everything else. And when everybody comes to Protaris, this is where they come. And when you come down here, hey, come on. Oh, well, I'm stuck at the crossing. How rubbish. Let's try that one again. Let's come down here. There's a roundabout somewhere. This one here. Right. Here's a top tip of my own experience. I'm lost. That's not a top tip at all. It's a roundabout. Oh, there it is. No, that's the roundabout. Right. So there is. Oh, man. I've lost it. That's the roundabout. There's an arcade somewhere. I feel like I need to point this out because it annoyed me. There's probably. See this one? Oh, man. Where is it? No. This has turned into really boring Sunday night TV for you guys, just watching me go around Google Maps. Where is it? Is it? No, it's not that one. Is it this one? I'm looking for. Oh, come on. Must be after the roundabout. Right. There's 2 things. Right. There is 2 things I want to show you in here. Oh, no, that's way too far. I can see why I can't find it. Right. That's way too far. Right. Okay. I'm going to try one more time. I'm going to stop wasting everybody's time. Let me just check this one last time here. Where is it? So basically, there was a pub. And we went there to eat. And there was a. No, we didn't. That's a total lie. We went there because my son saw an amusement arcade next to the pub, and it was kind of part of it. Pizza Hut. We went there. That was. Here it is, I think. I think it's this one. Oh, come on. Okay. Right. Forget it. I found it in one of my videos. I can't find the bloody place now. Anyway, it wasn't very good service because it was the only place in Cyprus where I've spoken to somebody and they came at you with a big smile on their face. And like, hi, sir, how can I help? And said, oh, no, we're just here for drinks because we're just going to go to the arcade. And the guy could not have been any faker. The smile gone off his face, just wiped off because he knew he wasn't going to get a tip or anything. He's like, he's like, smiley, hi, how you did? Gone. He just walked off. Didn't even let me finish my sentence. The moment he found out we weren't interested in food, he'd gone. And that was somewhere here. So Protaris was the worst service we've had on the island. Not to put you off from your holiday, by the way, but I'm just saying, because it's touristy, they don't need to worry about repeat custom because you're there for 2 weeks and then you're not going to come back again. And they've got another churn of tourists coming through. So the service we just found wasn't as good. But there is a cash point somewhere here. It might be this one. I don't want to do this cash point a disservice. However, it does only get 1 star. Have a look on Facebook. Oh, no, I'm not showing my screen. Right. Let me zoom back out. Right, there you go. The main strip that I've called it. Come down here. You've got this cash point down here, right? This cash point down here, and it gets 1 star. Have a look on Facebook because it was either this one or it's part of some of the shops here. It's definitely near this roundabout here. There is a cash point, and type Pretorius cash point scam or something like that. And people were getting scammed here. And I know it wasn't the cash point. It was one of these shops. Ah, come on. Right. Let's have a look. It was like there is one of these shops down here. I don't know if that's put me in the right place. Just have a look on Facebook and type Pretorius scam and then stay away from it because somewhere here, and it was around this bit here, there is a shop or an outlet of some sort. I don't know, it's like a supermarket or something. Basically, what they were doing, they were charging customers twice. And of course, you don't know about it until you've walked away. And then if you've seen the bank statement come through like a few days later, they just argued it and they were ripping tourists off, just charging people twice. Have a look on Facebook. Like I say, I don't know the exact, establishment that it was, but people were talking about it on Facebook groups, and then loads of people came through in the comments going, "Yeah, that happened to me. That happened to me," and it was all Emperataris. Just have a look. Don't want you guys to get scammed. Okie dokie. So we've got Lee again. If you were coming from the UK, would you bring over secondhand new in your shipment? Is it worth the risk? And do they really check against bank statements? Well, I would say it's all at your own risk. My experience could be different to your experience. What I experienced was that we were advised to, if you're going to bring new stuff over, open the box and close it, bash the box around a little bit, put some tape on it, make it look used, even though some of it was brand new, right? We were advised to do that. And so we were buying stuff that we wanted to bring with us that in essence was new. We were reserved. We were like, well, we don't want to take the mick, you know? We were just buying stuff that we would have ordinarily bought anyway. We refreshed some stuff earlier than we would have done because we knew we were coming out and we thought it's going to be cheaper in the UK. So we bought stuff in the UK and we opened the boxes, made it so that it wasn't new, and then we refreshed it and brought it with us. In hindsight, we would have brought a lot more because when it came to unloading on the other end, the only thing customs seemed to care about was my car. They didn't check any boxes. They didn't check for alcohol. They didn't check for any new items. They were only interested in the car. And that kind of annoyed me because we left so much alcohol in the UK. Like literally, we had a bars where literally accumulation of alcohol from parties and everything else that you couldn't legally bring in because of the whole like post Brexit rules and everything. And so we gave away so much alcohol before we left. Like literally, we had it all out on the kitchen table. We just were telling friends to come around. They would just take what you want. You know, we can't take it with us. We brought a few bits of alcohol with us, like where we had sentimental alcohol. So like you might say, why is alcohol sentimental? We have a bottle of vodka from our wedding. We have wedding vodka. We have vodka from like when my son was born and things like that. So we had sentimental bottles that we brought with us, and the rest of it we just gave away. In hindsight, I would have just brought it because nobody checked. But the reason why I say my experience might be different to your experience is because it depends if you're going to bring a car. If you bring a car, they're probably going to be more interested in the car than anything else. If you don't bring a car, well, I guess they have to look like they're earning a salary and therefore they'll probably check some things, would be my guess. But seriously, they were only interested in my car. The rest of it, they didn't care about. And in fact, I remember I'd got this light that was, it was like a floor lamp. And it was one of the few things that got packed. And I didn't make the box look old. And for some reason, I felt like this hardened criminal, like literally like I was importing drugs or something. And the guys were moving it from the delivery van into the shuttle van that was taken up to my house. And I remember watching them pass the box across. And I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. Oh, they're going to catch me from a freaking light. Didn't give two monkeys. They didn't care at all. They weren't barely even, like literally barely even paying any attention. I think what they are looking for is people taking the mick, bringing stuff in and trying to sell it. That's what they want, or that's what they want to catch. If you're just bringing stuff in for you and you're not looking at setting up a side business and selling a load of stuff in Cyprus when you get here to cover the cost of your shipping, you're probably fine. But I say probably, like I say, my experience could be different to your experience. But if I was doing it again, I would bring more stuff for sure. And I wouldn't worry too much. That's me. It's not advice. It's just my opinion. Adrian, yes, thinking of moving hopefully in 2028. Just need to convince my partner. Cool. Well, if you haven't been to Cyprus or if your partner hasn't been to Cyprus, then definitely come and do an extended stay. That's what I would be looking to do for sure. And have you guys ever been to Cyprus before? Because if you haven't, then you should definitely look at. In fact, I actually did a video on this about how we moved. I'll talk through the process of how we moved to Cyprus and what we did and why we did it the way we did it. And so, yeah, maybe just do that if you haven't been. But yeah, have you guys been to Cyprus before or not? Asha, Sabella is a brand new boutique hotel in Potima. Oh, who's mentioned that? Because for anybody that's looking at buying a house, here you go. Let's go back to this. For anybody that's looking at buying a house or building a house, I know we're building property, but if I just come back out to here. So, I wonder if it's on the maps. Has it made it onto right? Lost where I'm at. Potima. Here we go. Potima. So for those of you, I know some of you, if you come down as a tourist, you'll come down here. You've got what used to be there's a beach bar here. It's changed. It used to be CU Beach Bar. It's now changed. But the people that will know it, there is where's the parking? Somewhere here. And there's a photo spot and there's the red hearts and stuff. And we see, it's not there. Why is it not there? Oh, all right. Well, it is there in real life. Anyway, you have a red heart here, and loads of people stop and take pictures with the heart and the sunset and everything else. We used to live just up here on the hill, actually. It was lovely. We used to live up there. We used to get the sunsets every night. But if I just come down here, if you are looking at buying land or buying a house or building a house, see if it comes. You have to be so careful in Cyprus because, again, it's a case of not what you know, it's who you know. So it's not showing up on here. There is so it's not even there. So this is really out of date, actually. There is now, in fact, you can see the bricks. There is now a villa that was built here and it had a sea view for about half a year. And then what happened, if I just change it to this and go to the satellite view. So you can see it. So the satellite view is updated. So that was the kiosk. Then this villa was built. And then this hotel was built right in front of this villa, completely decimating their sea view, completely decimating any view apart from now they've got a view of the hotel. This is why it can be so crucial to pick the right spot. If you're going to build a house in Cyprus, you're going to buy land out here, you've got to get it right because the rules don't apply to everybody. Like if I was to have bought this land, I probably wouldn't have been able to build a hotel. And I don't mean just like from a cost perspective. I mean, because these guys, there's a Mito developer, these guys, I'm guessing, were able to pay to be able to put this huge freaking thing in front. Whereas if you or I was to buy that, we'd probably only be able to build 2 floors higher, something like that. So anyway, yes, that is a hotel. I personally wouldn't support it based on the fact that, these guys have ruined these guys' lives. Let's be honest. If you just built your dream home and this comes along in front, I wouldn't stay there on principle, but that's just me. Anyway, where are we? So Ferry, the hotel was okay, but definitely not 5-star. No, exactly. That was the King Elverton, or I can't even pronounce it. I should really learn how to say the name. Lee was asking for accommodation in Paphos for October. Yeah, I know, but I don't know anywhere. And so yeah, I don't. So Kelly is shouting at you. It's white hearts, not a red one. I'm sorry. I know you've got the pictures to prove it. There's a heart there. Hearts are generally red. It was a fair guess, right? You guys should set up a Cyprus channel and tell people about the color of the hearts. That's what I think you should do. But in order, so yeah, Lee was asking about accommodation for Paphos. Yeah, I mean, I know you guys stayed here last time. Well, not here, but in Paphos down here, you've got the hotel district. You go past the hotel, go past the airport down here. No, don't. That's a lie. You go past the town before the airport, and this is like Hotel Central down here. Very touristy area. Hotel Central. You got hotel after hotel after hotel, but some nice hotels down here. You know, some really nice hotels down there, and that is where a lot of the tourists will stay. You know, we've stayed, but before we lived here, we stayed in hotel down this area as well. But it depends what you want, to be honest. I mean, for me personally, you could stay in a hotel if you like that sort of thing, great. Or you could stay in an Airbnb and, you know, try life out here. Depends if you ever think you want to move out here, if you just want somebody to take care of your breakfast and cook your breakfast and, you know, tidy your room and stuff like that. But no, so where else to recommend? I mean, to be honest, Lee, Kelly, I don't really know because we haven't stayed in that many places out here. You know, we do. I know where we've stayed, well liked, well I haven't liked, but ask me nearer the time and can help you guys find somewhere, I'm sure. Okay, we are out of questions and we're nearly at 11:30, so there's no more questions coming through. I'm still going strong. If anybody wants to hang around and ask more questions, you can do. I will going to pop over to my like and share screen one last time. If anybody's got any other questions, feel free to stick them in the chat now, because otherwise we'll probably be wrapping this up shortly. And if you are finding this useful, if you're finding it helpful in any way, shape or form, please give it a like and a share. If you're not subscribed already, please do so, because it would help me a lot. But yeah, if you're finding this information useful, you think somebody else might benefit from it, then please share it with people on Facebook or wherever, and we can get it in front of more people. Because look, when I was moving to Cyprus, nobody was really documenting what life was really like out here, at least in this level of detail. And so if you are finding it useful, I'm trying to build this for everybody. And so if we can get it out there in front of people, that's going to help them out, and it's going to just help spread the message, help people make a more informed decision before moving and potentially changing their entire life. So yeah, there we go. I'm going to go back to the chat one last time and we will have a look. So Asha, that's why I mentioned Sabella, because it's new, so everything is still working, but you are right, terrible location. Well, no, the location's bloody brilliant. It's just terrible for the people that own the villa in front of that place. I mean, the location is brilliant. I just wouldn't want to support them now, personally, but that's just me. And Lee, cheers, buddy. No problem at all. And Lee again, or a different Lee. So Lee and Lou, where are you building your villas and why there? Okay, that's a good question. So let me go to the non-satellite view. For those of you that don't know the geography, or for those of you that know the geography, so you've got the airport here, you've got main Paphos town here, and as we come up towards this way, you've got Coral Bay, which I know a lot of people are familiar with, and Paya. And then you've got this area here, the Sea Caves and Agios Georgios. So this area here is quite affluent. This is where I got sunburned earlier, thanks Lee. So I got sunburned earlier on, so we were walking up. And this area is quite affluent, and a lot of the property out here is very expensive. Now, we've bought land in the Sea Caves area, and we are developing smaller properties because it makes this area more accessible for people. And so we've got 3,000 square meters worth of land in the Sea Caves area around here. And rather than building kind of like €1 million villas, which is kind of what most of them are out here, like literally in the Sea Caves, like it's all quite expensive. We are building a number of smaller properties where it will just make the area more accessible for people to be able to live this end of the island. So they'll still be up market compared to what you'd buy in Paphos and anything else. They'll still be up market. You're going to get a lot of property for your money. But we picked this area because fundamentally, this is it's a thriving area, it's a growing area, but it's very sought after in terms of what people want. And so we've chosen this area. Now, we could have chosen somewhere like Paya. Property in Paya is generally cheaper than property in the Sea Caves. We could have chosen somewhere like Tala. Tala is generally more expensive than Paya, but it's cheaper than, say, the Sea Caves. So we went for the land because the land was a really good price based on how we bought it. We were able to secure land at a very good price direct from the bank rather than going through a website like Buy Sell Cyprus. And so we were able to secure it at a really good price. And then we can build on it and we can offer a much better quality product in this area. So we chose this area because, like I say, we are living around here. So we're in the Tyler area. It's close to us here. It means I can get to the builds as we're building and developing. So this is only about sort of from where I am, maybe 20 minutes tops, maybe 15, 20 minutes tops from where we are. So I can get down there every day if I need to. And like I say, property in this area super high in demand and very expensive. So for us, it just made sense to go there. We could have gone anywhere. You know, you could literally build anywhere. But for us, it was this is where a lot of people want to go. A lot of people want to be out here. Cap St. George's. So I know people like Shakira and a few other people have got property over this way, got property out on this part of the island. And it's just an affluent area. And these guys are expanding. You know, you've got the private schools out here as well. So if you've got kids and they're going to private school, you've got TLC school over this way. It's just a very nice area, but it's less touristy. It's not strictly true, but it's less touristy. It's not like you're buying in Paphos. Like, you know, here you're going to get all the tourists, all the stag parties, everything else. Yes, you've got the resort over here, and you've got the whole Cap St. George's resort somewhere, wherever it is. I'll zoom in somewhere here. There it is. Well, Cap St. George's, that one there. And you'll see there, so 4.7 stars. I mean, this is freaking expensive. This place is a really expensive place to go, but it's stunning. You know, it's like really upmarket. So you do get tourists there, but generally, sorry, this is a more affluent area, and therefore property out here, it goes really fast. And so we got very lucky with the land that we were buying, and that's where we bought it. If you buy land further inland, so like Tsada, you can get land, and certainly if you come Polemi and Strumpy way, you can get land here like super cheap by comparison, but you're going to have a harder time to sell it. So we just went where the demand was. Don't know if that answers your question, Lee, but that's kind of, you know, why we did and why we bought there. So hope that answers the question anyway. Simon, the Reynolds, Mark and Jonna. The Reynolds, Simon, have a good evening and thanks for tuning in. Jade, devastated for the purchases. Every time we pass that place, it's like, whoa, what a tragedy. Then I heard they own the place in front and built on it all. So, not sure what that refers to, Jade. I'm assuming it's the hotel. Devastated for the purchase. Every time we pass that place, yeah, yeah, okay. If you're referring to that villa, I mean, yeah, it is a tragedy. I'd be absolutely livid. I'd be livid. Ferry, so we've got how fast is it to find a rental place? We'll stay in Airbnb for a month, hoping to find long term rent during that time. Is a month optimistic? I mean, look, there's places to rent out here for sure. And what I would say is you could literally land tomorrow and go and rent a place the day after. But it depends what you're looking for. And it depends how fussy you are and everything else. It depends, you know, some people have taken quite a while to find a place. We found a place remotely. I think it took us maybe 2 or 3 months to find our first place, but we were doing that remotely before we even arrived. And then we secured it, paid for a month for it to be empty, and then we came out after that. So is it realistic? Yeah, you'll get a place, but if you're trying to get something fast in that month and you haven't seen exactly what you want, then you might need to compromise a little bit. But you won't have a problem. If you're worried about immigration or whatever, you can rent somewhere. Typically, a rental contract will be minimum 12 months. And you can just rent somewhere for the first year and then move again after that. But no, you'll find somewhere. There's plenty of places for rent. It's just not cheap. It's not as cheap as it used to be by any stretch of the imagination. Like 10, 15 years ago, it was super cheap out here. And even when we were looking to move in 2023, a lot of the places that we were looking at online, they had the old price written, like hard coded, written in the description of the villa that they'd never updated, and it would be 600-700 euros cheaper. Excuse me, like 2 years prior than it was on the listing when we were looking. So prices have shot up massively over the last few years. But yeah, I mean, look, you can find something for sure, but if you're worried about timings and everything else, you might need to compromise. You might need to just, you know, cut corners if you're urgently needing to move in. Excuse me. Hopefully that's helpful. Don't know if it is not. Premium 2477. Are you building villas or apartments? Neither. We are building a series of townhouses actually. And so tell you what, bear with me 1 second. I can show you. If you're interested, let me show you what we're building. 1 second. I will pull up. Wasn't expecting to show this tonight, but let me show you what we're building. 3D renders. Where has it gone? No, not that one. Final renders. Here we go. Let me go to the outside first. And just move that across. Okay. So these are, I'll show you this and then just make sure that's all going to work. Yeah, let me just download all of this. Okay, I wasn't planning on doing this tonight, but that's fine. We can show you guys this. Let that go down. Right. Let me share the screen. So we are building 7 townhouses, basically. So we've got townhouses that we're building top and bottom, as in they are essentially over 4 floors. They will be in a gated community. So this is what it looked like from the back. And these are the renders that have gone through. Is what we've got this submitted into planning permission now. So I'll have a communal pool, communal gardens, and then every townhouse has its own private garden. It's got 2 floors of living space, so open plan kitchen, bedrooms, and things like that. Then we've got a roof terrace as well for all 7. So this is kind of what it would look like as you're driving in from the front. Each one of these, like I say, you've got kind of one there, then you've got another one there, and you've got another one there. So there's 7 of these in a block. And this is what it would look like. This is what it looked like around the back. We've got, like I say, the communal pool area there with like a sunken bar area for people to swim up and be able to swim up and barbecue, things like that. And so I'm just, as I'm clicking through these, it's downloading as well. So that's kind of what it would look like. So basically all of the 7 townhouses there, so all of them have a roof terrace and all of them would have a sea view, like panoramic sea views of the sea caves from the roof terraces. And I'm just clicking through these and I'll show you some of the interior shots as well. So this is kind of what it would look like as well. The communal areas with like sunbeds in the pools and things like that. And while they won't have private pools because it's a communal area pool, what they will have, or what they can have, and again, it'll be dependent on the spec of what people want to buy. But essentially, in fact, let me just go back to interiors. Let's just have a look at this. So I'll have a basement area. And again, depending on how people want to get it configured. So you'll have open plan living dining space here. So if I flip to the back side of this, you're going to have like an open plan kitchen diner there. And they're going to be, the whole point is that they're going to be smaller houses. There's no doubt about it. They are smaller houses, but we're trying to give as much functional space as possible. So for the price that we're looking to charge for these, you would get the same sort of thing in Paphos, but you wouldn't get a basement and you wouldn't necessarily get a roof terrace. And in some cases, you don't even get a communal pool. But I'll show you what our basements and things like that would look like. So this, again, is all to plan. If you wanted to build a gym in your basement, then it could look like that. If that's what you wanted, spec'd out in your basement, then we could build a gym. And then each of the ground floors, it doesn't have to be a gym. It could be a self-contained flat. If you wanted to put that in there, have a self-contained apartment, because there'll be shower facilities down there if you wanted to be, place for water, or it could be a couple of bedrooms, or it could be an office, but there's things that you could do depending on how you want to kit it out. And then just keep going down to the garden. So as I'm clicking through, it's downloading each photo. There we go. So then every house has its own private garden space like this. And that garden space, you could then get access onto the communal gardens, the communal pool, but you've got an area downstairs for sitting, dining, barbecuing and stuff like that, all covered. And then I'm hoping these are the roof terrace ones. Let's go. No, let's just keep going through. Nope. Okay, let's just keep going through. Thought I got them. Am I going to the roof terrace? Thought I did. Bear with me. Sorry, guys, I wasn't prepared for this tonight. No, let's keep going. Like I said, these are all the official renders that have gone through as part of the planning permission. Okay, so not finding what one. No, so let me go through. So let me just find this roof garden. So this is, go to this. No, these ones. So this is something we were doing before it went through to planning. But basically, so this is to scale. So every roof terrace could have this level of sort of equipment and facilities on the roofs. You can have a hot tub on your roof, And again, this is all kind of covered as well if you need it to be. You've got solar panels on top to make them cheap and efficient to run, but you've got dining facilities on the roof if you want it. So you've got the sea views and everything else. And again, this can be kitted out in whatever style people want. It depends what people are into, but fundamentally, it can be whatever they want it to be. Depending on how you like it. So yeah, so that's what we're building anyway. So it's not apartments, it's not villas, it's townhouses, because people aren't doing that in the area, and we can make it accessible for people that want to live in that area to be able to have a really nice style of house, but maybe they can't afford to spend €1,000,000 on a villa. Maybe they don't want the running cost of €1,000,000 on a villa, because the thing is, what we will be doing, and this is when business partner has been building for 25 years in the UK, making passive houses. So by passive house, what I mean is basically you don't need to spend as much money on heating in the summer, no, the winter, or cooling in the summer, because you run the aircon less for the winter, and you are, can't speak now. You run the aircon less for the summer, and you run the heating less for the winter, with solar and electric heating on the floors and everything else, plus all the thermal efficiency that we would put in, basically following almost UK standards with regards insulation, rather than the Cypriot build standards. You try and make it so that they are as thermally efficient as possible. And so we're trying to make houses that are not only cheaper to buy, but also cheaper to run. And because it's a passive house, the maintenance ends up being lower, because you're not, you could just whack loads of solar on, and you could whack loads of electric aircon everywhere, but then you've still got to run your air conditioning. You've got the running cost, you've got the servicing cost and everything else. So the more passive you can make the house, the more thermally efficient of keeping the heat out, keeping the heat in as and when you need to, the cheaper the running costs are of the house as well. So anyway, that's what we're building. That's a long answer to the question. Hopefully that answered the question. No. Alex, we had an Airbnb booked for 3 weeks and found a long-term rental and moved into it before the end of the booking. Viewed 20 properties. Yeah, I know we caught up about this, but yeah, I mean, fundamentally, you can get your property in a month. So just going back to the original question, yeah, you can get a property in a month, Ferry, no problem. But if you can't find what you want, you might just need to cut corners, or you do what Alex did, you do what Alex and Emma did, and you just view properties relentlessly while you're over here and just keep viewing them. Mike, I'm done for the night. Another great session, Mark. Thank you. Flying back to the UK tomorrow. Cool. Yeah, safe trip, safe flight, Mike. Safe flight, Joanne. It was great to meet you guys as well while you're over. So that was really cool. Great to meet you earlier in the week. I look forward to catching up again on our next trip out. Yeah, no problem at all. Safe flight back, Mike. Safe flight back, Joanne. Really good to meet you guys. And look, there are no more questions. So that was nearly another 3-hour session, but not quite. It's 2 hours 42. There's still got 30 people online. If anybody's got any other questions, now's your chance. I will have a quick sip of my drink. If anybody's got any other questions, we can go for it. I've still got energy. If not, then I will bid you adieu, and I will catch you all next week. But if you've got any questions, feel free to put in the chat. I've got a different water bottle tonight. It's my gym one, excuse me. Right, nothing else coming through, although there is a bit of delay. I know there's always a bit of a lag, so I will just flip over to my screen. I'm going to exit here. If there's nothing else coming through, then look, guys, appreciate everybody dialing in. Appreciate you all making time on a Sunday night to sit and watch and listen to me. So hopefully it's been interesting. Hopefully it's been useful. We'll catch you next week. In fact, next week I could say this now because my son's not on. He's asleep. He better be asleep. We're going to Poland next week. He doesn't know I'm going. He doesn't know I'm going with him. They're going to Poland. I'm going to Poland next week. So I'm going to be filming this from Poland somehow live again while I'm there. We're going there for Easter. So I'm just going to go there for the 4 days. But my son doesn't know you're going. He thinks I'm staying here. So hopefully he doesn't watch this bit of the video tomorrow. He probably won't. So it's fine. But yes, I will be live from Poland next week, just briefly for Easter. And then I don't know how that's quite going to work, but I'm going to figure it out. And then I'll be back in Cyprus from the Monday. So yes, have a great week all. Have a cracking... Oh, no, we've got some more questions coming through. Okay, almost finished, but that's fine. I did say I'd answer more questions. Lee and Kelly, good night, Mark. Cool. Good night, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Alex, when will your developments be finished? Well, that's a very good question. So we are targeting, and I say this in the loosest sense of the word, we are targeting sort of 2027, a couple of years time for build, but 2028, that's 2 years time. But we're going through planning permission at the moment. Now, planning permission could take us up to 6 months just to get planning. We've gone through with the architects, so we've got all the plans drawn up from the architects. Everything is there ready to go, and it's all been submitted. And now we just hit the Cypriot bureaucracy where we go, right, submitted, can do nothing. We just wait. And so we're targeting a couple of years is what we're aiming for. And that's because, it could take us 3 years, but that's by the time you've gone through all the waiting and everything. When I say 3 years, we kicked this process off a year ago. Like, we bought the land a year ago, and things just can move slow. So we reckon it was going to be about 3 years at the time. Probably got a couple of years left to get it all there and ready and finished. But yeah, we are kind of at the mercy of the Cypriot authorities at the moment. But yeah, if planning permission goes quicker, the sooner we get planning, the sooner we can actually start putting concrete in the ground. And that we are just waiting for. And that can change depending on who you are, depending on what the project is and everything else. If you're building a small property, it is going to be much quicker and simpler than a bigger property. So yes, we are kind of at the mercy of them. But yeah, that's the target anyway. Hope that answers the question. Premium 2477 looks great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, that's a username. JJJ111154. Great session. Awesome. I appreciate you tuning in. I don't know your name, but thanks for tuning in. Great session. Loving these. No questions. Just well done. Loving these. Keep them coming. PS. PS. Your UK GK pal. Cool. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Lee again. So night mark. Oh no. Sorry. I missed your comment. I apologize. All right. So I've kind of cycled back around. Stephen, what sort of price range are your townhouses? Right. Well, that's a good question. So we are still going to be finalizing the build cost, but fundamentally it's going to depend on the spec that people want. The target is to keep them within the 5% threshold. So basically between up to 300 grand, that gets you permanent residency. Up to 300 grand, you can have the 5% VAT, and then above 300 grand, up to 475 is then the 19%. So we want to be below the 475 for sure. And it's going to be above the 300 for sure, because that gets people permanent residency. The final price will depend on the final build, but we'd be looking in the 400s is what I'd say. So it is substantially cheaper than other properties in the area. And for what we're trying to offer, if you were to take that same amount of money in Paphos, you won't necessarily get a roof terrace, you won't necessarily get a basement, and the communal facilities, the area and everything else is kind of what we're looking at. Now, we could absolutely go higher, but then it ticks into the 19% on the VAT, and there's a few other things that come into play at that point. We could absolutely go higher, but I think, where we're at the moment, we're looking in the 400s was where we're at. But again, final price to be confirmed. Kiv 8 Vic. Thanks, Mark. Amazing projects. Have a good night, Vic. Thank you, Vic. Appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed. Premium 2477. Are there many holding costs involved since you own the land? Not at the moment. Not at the moment. So property out here is very different to the UK. So in the UK, and I'm sure, for anybody that's got property in the UK, you'll know this, you'll be aware of this. But in the UK, the government seems to want to screw landlords and landowners and everything else. And if you've got a second property, you've got extra money that you need to pay on council tax. If your house is empty, you have to pay penalties and fines and God knows what. Out here, it is totally different. And I'll give you an example. Excuse me, sorry. I'll give you an example though. So in the UK, I think it was Section 24 came out, started in about 2019. And what Section 24 was, I think it was Section 24, you have to look it up. Just for example purposes, let's say you have a property and you're renting out £1,000 a month, just keep the number simple. So prior to this section being abolished, if you had a property that you're renting out for £1,000 a month, and let's just say you had a £500 a month mortgage on that, and let's say it was interest only, just to keep it really simple, that would mean that your cost of finance and everything else, £500 of it goes to the interest, and you're only making £500 profit in essence on your £1,000 rental, ignoring running costs and voids and all of that stuff, right? So What the government started to do was they started to reduce that. And so rather than taxing you on just the 500 that would be profit, they started changing it 25% a year all the way up to 100%. So now if you have a property in your personal name that you're renting out for £1,000 a month, even if you have an interest payment of £500 a month, you pay tax on the full £1,000. So a lot of people, a lot of serial landlords would put the property into a business and run it like a business and have it in a company name rather than their personal name. But again, it's the UK government just making things more difficult for small landlords. Now, my accountant told me this must have been about 6 weeks ago now. He was saying that if you're renting a property in the UK, and I'm just, sorry, in Cyprus, and I'm just saying this for comparison, you asked about, is there a holding cost for the land? Just things seem more favorable out here for sure. Taking that same example, let's say you had a property in Cyprus that you were renting out for €1,000 a month. The government, they assume that you're going to have to fix things. So without any other interest payments or anything, they only tax you on €800 of the €1,000 a month anyway. And that's before you've done anything. So things are a lot more favorable out here than they are in the UK. Council tax, right? Now, granted, we don't have the same level of recycling that you have in the UK, right? In fact, I was just in the UK recently. Asher, I didn't tell you this. If you're still awake, I didn't tell you this. In the UK, I was around some friends, and not only do they have the rubbish bag, the paper bag, the plastic and cans bag, they've now got a food freaking compost bag where they have to put food waste in. They've got like all these different bins. And for the privileged, you're obviously paying, our council tax before we left was like £280 a month or something like that. And I know people that are paying crazy high council tax, thousands of pounds a year in council tax. And you've got the bins and everything else, and they get emptied. But here in Cyprus, we don't have any of the recycling. And that's something that you have to get your head around. If you like recycling, it's soul destroying. You have to unlearn how to recycle. And you just throw everything. Even now, like 3 years in nearly, I keep putting my milk bottles, the empty milk bottles, I put them next to the bin. And I don't know why I do that, because when I take the bins out, I just take them and put them in a bin bag anyway. But I'm still ingrained to kind of want to try and recycle. But we just have one bin. It gets emptied twice a week, and we can put everything in it. And for the privilege, do you know how much we pay? We pay 200 and I think it was €50 for that a year. €250 a year we pay for our equivalent of council tax versus £280 a month. So typical running costs, holding costs, everything else out here, it's much cheaper and much more favorable than it is in the UK. That's a really long-winded answer to a question. Hopefully that answers it though. Very. Would Alex Glass mind sharing which agencies they went through to see properties if we can somehow exchange contacts? I'll tell you what, Ferry, I don't know if Alex is up for this or not. Literally, the next question. Mark's got our details, Ferry. Alex, if you're happy for me to pass your details on, I will link you and Ferry up, and then Alex can pass you the details. Yeah, if you're happy for me to do that, it sounds like you are, but if you are happy for me to do that, just stick it in the chat and I'll pass it over. Or you can message me or whatever, and I'll pass it over to Ferry. That's cool. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate that. Lee, cheers, mate. When are you getting the CUF water bottles launch? Come on. No, I know. I don't know if people are buying. I don't know. Would anybody? I can't even pimp it out tonight. I've got this rickety old thing. I mean, this is about 6 years old now. I use it for the gym. Going gym tomorrow. I just started using that tonight. Yeah, haven't got one. Have to get some Cyprus Unfiltered water bottles. I am seriously contemplating a meetup though. If people are actually thinking about a meetup, I'm thinking about maybe doing a monthly meetup for people. Then as people come and join the channel, and we can go on and off, and we can just link up somewhere in Paphos. I think that'd be quite cool. Not for profit, not trying to make money out of anything or out of you guys. Just we could just do it because it'd be fun. So this is now officially the longest Cyprus Unfiltered. 6 minutes left till midnight. 6 minutes left. Has anybody got any other questions? We might be able to do the full 3 hours tonight. I will go till midnight. If anybody wants to go to midnight, I'll go to midnight. Otherwise, I'm going to let you all go and I'll go to bed. But I'm still going strong. So if anybody wants to ask me any more questions, now is a good time. There's still 23 people online. 23 people with nothing better to do on a Sunday night than listen to me prattle on. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. I do like the interaction. I do like the entertainment because it's entertaining. It's entertaining for me talking to you guys. So I'm happy to sit and chat and everything else. Alex, no worries for introducing us to Ferry. Cool. I'll link you guys up. No problem at all. Happy to do so. That's cool. And thanks, Alex. Appreciate that. Okay. Any more for any more? I will hang around for a few more minutes, only because now it's got to the point where I want to go to midnight. So now I want you to I want you to ask me questions. I want to go to midnight just because it'll say 3 hours on YouTube, and I don't know if that does anything, but it's like a personal, like an achievement. Presumably, water bottles would be filtered. Ooh, unfiltered. Sorry, we're Cyprus unfiltered. Yeah, love it. That's a good point, actually. That would be totally against brand, wouldn't it? Cyprus Unfiltered selling filtered water bottles. Premium 24/7. What do you think of EAC zeroing credits for people with solar? Well, that is a good question. On the face of it, it sounds extremely harsh and it sounds extremely unfair. Now, I haven't lived in this house long enough to have been impacted by that. Like anything, there's always two sides to a story. Now, I'm not the EAC's greatest fan. Me personally, I think they're a monopoly on the island. I think they will rip customers off, and I think they do rip customers off. And it annoys me that they haven't invested in the infrastructure and they will turn off people's solar in the name of grid stability because they haven't invested in battery backup and things like that, for battery storage. Sorry, not battery backup, battery storage. So I'm not the EAC's biggest fan. And therefore, it would be really easy for me to go, yeah, they're a bunch of thieving cowboys, criminal, they've stolen all these credits. That's one side. And that's the side you'll quite often see on Facebook. The other side is that when you read into some of the other people's comments, people that have also been affected by it, they've kind of gone, yeah, we knew it was coming. And the reason why they knew it was coming is because it is in the small print of the contracts that it only lasts like 3 years or something like that. Now, I don't know how strictly it's been enforced. I don't know how often, if this is an annual purge or not. I've heard more about it this last month or so because Cyprus, the EAC have wiped out everybody's credits or a load of people's credits. But from what I understand, and credit where it's due, from what I understand, it is in people's contracts that they were able to do so. So I don't know. If that's true, because I haven't seen one of these contracts, if that's true, then yeah, it's a bit of a pisser, if I'm honest. I'd be annoyed. I totally get why I'd be annoyed. But if it's in the contract, there's not a lot you can do about it. If that's what people have signed up to, then they really need to read the small print, is the long and short of it. But yeah, I mean, I would still be annoyed. And people might go, yeah, but if you've got all of this credit, then why do you ever need it? Well, that's the point. You need it or you want it because you've accrued it and you've kind of earned it. And maybe you will use it one day, maybe you won't. But it was nice to have it in the bank. So I get it. I get why people are annoyed. But I don't know. Like I say, my opinion would be if it's written in black and white, then people should read their contracts. And yes, it's a shame, but people should read the contract. If it's not written in black and white, then yeah, then they're a bunch of thieving assholes. And yeah, but I don't know. I can't really give a valid opinion. I can just kind of talk about the two sides of the coin. Don't know if that's helpful or not. Ferry, it's highlight of the week. We can't wait for the sun. We can't wait for Sunday evening. I can't decide if there's sarcasm in that. I mean, I appreciate you saying it, and it sounds lovely. It feels lovely, but there has to be something more interesting to do on a Sunday night than listen to me. I remember when I think Top Gear used to be on a Sunday night. There has to be something more interesting on a Sunday night. Very again, is there any recycling? Or isn't there any recycling? It will be hard to unrecycle. Okay, there is recycling. Oh, yeah, go. Ashley's just said it as well. There are recycling points, but you have to drive and you have to drive all the way to them. So it's a bit like, when you have the refuge centres in the UK and you go there and you put the wood and you put the garden rubbish and you put the paper and everything else. So there are places you can go to recycle. But who's got time for that? Like, if they want me to recycle in the nicest possible way, make it easy for me. I'll pay more council tax. That's fine. But I'm not going to drive half an hour down the road to recycle. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. It just goes in the black bin. And it's a shame because, like you say, you kind of have to unlearn it. And it's not very nice. But anyway, it is what it is. Oh, there you go. Well, you guys are chatting. You don't even need me anymore. I could just turn my camera off and you guys can just chat in the comments. Ash is answering the comments. And she's answering the questions. Lee, from Monica, me and my wife too. Yeah. And Lee, it's tough. And you know, the good thing is you don't need to worry about having all these plastic bins everywhere. And you, like we used to have bins for everything in the UK, you know. I don't need that anymore. But it is a shame. Like I say, even now, my milk bottles get piled up by the side of it. You know, if you have pizza boxes or anything like that, we kind of separate the cardboard and then you're like, oh no, we don't need to. It all goes in the same bag. Premium 2477. Have you heard? Apparently cuts are now entering the energy sector. Do you mean CETA? Because CETA are now entering the energy sector. I've heard that. Is that just a typo? If you mean CETA, yes, I've heard about it. If you mean cuts as it's written, not heard about it. Alex, congratulations, Cinderella, past midnight. Oh, yeah. Cheers, Alex. Much appreciated. 19 people. Literally, there's still people. Right. Can you go to bed so we can? Is this like nobody wants to turn off because I'm still talking? There might be something I say that was interesting and you'll never know if you go. CETA, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So to answer your question, Premium 2477. Could you tell me your name, please? And I'll try and remember it for next week because I feel like I need to know your name. I keep reading it out. But yes, CETA, yes. So they are entering the energy market. And it's going to be good, I think, but they are still half owned by the government and it's half private, is my understanding. But it should invoke competition for the EAC. However, the cynic in me goes, because it's half owned by the government, why would they want to do that? Because they've got a monopoly. But if CETA can come in on a private level and compete with the EAC and the prices come down, has to be a good thing for everybody. Competition's always good. Cool. Right. This is my longest ever live stream. There are no other questions, but Premium 2477, I do want to know your name. I feel like it's going to be Stephen. There's lots of Stevens on these calls. Chris. Okay, Chris. You might have told me that. If you have, I apologize. Chris, I'm gonna remember that for next week, assuming you're on next week. There's me bigging myself up, assuming that you're going to be on. Cheers, Chris. Good to meet you anyway. And cool. There's no more questions, and I have exceeded 3 hours. That is my target. Well, it wasn't my target at all. You guys don't stop asking questions. And I don't stop answering them. But I think we can leave it there. Unless there's anybody else who's got any other questions, I am going to go. I'm going to go to bed and let you guys go to bed. Seeing as you can't turn me off, I will turn me off for you because you guys have got no discipline. So I will turn me off. And I will hopefully catch you all next week from Poland. As I say, I'll be in Poland next week. And if anybody's got any questions in the meantime, you know where I am. Feel free to put questions in the comments. Ping me on Instagram. And Ferry, I will link you up with Alex's details as well. And appreciate everybody dialing in. Appreciate you all watching. Have a good evening all. Really good talking to you all. And I will hopefully speak to you next week. Have a good week all. Thanks again. Catch you all soon. Cheers.